Levántame, ámame, cuídame, sáname. Hoy quiero dormir junto a ti. Abrázame antes de dormir. Con tu amor sanas mis cicatrices y mi ser. Sáname. Levántame. Ámame. Cuídame. Sáname. Dame luz que quiero ser. Del oscuro quiero salir. Y en el tren del amor. Llévame, llévame. Hoy quiero dormir junto a ti. Dame luz que quiero seguir. Quédate, dame luz, dame luz. Levántame, Lift me up, hold me down.
Good evening. This is Sanford Williams, Africanist educator. I'm here tonight, like all Friday nights at 8 p.m., discussing, examining the issue of combating systemic racism through education. What you ask is systemic racism? It's the racism that's overcome the planet Earth for the last 400 or more years. During this period, the racial construct, or the whole concept of race, was developed by Europeans to justify colonialism and slavery, capitalism, and the like. So the objective of this podcast is to examine this issue. Now, this issue knows no boundaries. It has gone afar across the planet, from Greenland to Iceland, from anywhere in China to anywhere in Russia, from anywhere in northern Europe, anywhere from Belarusian SSR, Ukrainian SSR, to Poland, to Yugoslavia, to Turkey, down through the Pacific Islands, and all the way over to the original place where humans first evolved, the humans that we know of. That's the place we call Africa today. So we'll call it Africa because we have to go from where we are. Most people on the planet only know of that place as Africa. So to get into how it came to be called that would be a waste of our time this evening. We started this, I started speaking here at about the 8:10 hour. 8:10 is 10 minutes after the show's scheduled to begin. But prior to that, I played 3 versions of a song called Lift Me Up by Rihanna from the show Back to Wakanda. So that explains why we were starting at 8:10. Now, before I talk about why I chose that song and put it in 3 different renditions, what occurred is that we have a situation where we have a number of crises and humanitarian issues going on Earth today. And the one that's getting the most attention right now is the one in the place called Gaza. Now, you got people who take sides on either issue, and they argue, Israel has a right to defend itself, or Israel is committing genocide, or this, that, or the other thing. But most people don't really know the story of how any of this started and what it all represents. So I find that it's worthy if we look at it from the perspective of reality. Now, before we talk about that, I think there's some current events that we want to look at that are very pertinent for right now. What's pertinent for right now? Well, for the African American black community, those who are native born to this, those who are born from the enslaved people and live here today, it's a march for reparations. When is the March for Reparations? It's November the 4th, which is tomorrow, 2023. And there'll be a march around the White House and in D.C. Calling for reparations for hundreds and hundreds of years of slavery, oppression, and Jim Crow against the people, the African, formerly African enslaved people of America, and their progeny. That march is supposedly trying to get the government and the world to look at the fact that there needs to be monetary or other reparations to pay for the psychological, the emotional, the spiritual, and overall dehumanization of the African people brought here enslaved and dehumanized and form of slavery never known by humans in this history. The only kind of slavery ever of its kind in the history of the human family. So they're asking for reparations. Well, they could give money reparations. People are saying, well, how do we decide how much to give to people? Or do we even have the money to give people for reparations? Well, the fact of the matter is, it's not a question of do you have the money or anything of that sort, because they're constantly, and they've done it in the past, they've given reparations to people for wrongs done to them, such as the Japanese who were falsely imprisoned during World War II, the Japanese Americans, and put into concentration camps. They paid them for that. I mean, they paid They paid Jewish people money for being oppressed by a German man named Hitler in Germany and in Europe. And America we don't even live in Europe. They paid Chinese reparations. They paid Vietnamese reparations. They paid all sorts of people reparations for wrong done to them. But to the African born in this country or raised in this country, enslaved in this country, they don't have money for that. They've even given some forms of reparations to the so-called Native Americans who were here before the white man ever got here, but who were here only after the Africans came here. You see, the fact of the matter is the Africans were already here in this place before the so-called red man or Indian ever got here. So the original people of the planet, black people. And everywhere you go on the earth, the original people of Japan were the Ainu, black people. The original people of China, black people. The original people of Australia, black people. The original people of Indonesia, black people. The original people of Europe, from Ireland, everywhere. The original people ever on the planet were black people, and they migrated out to other places. And if you do your homework and do some researching, you'll find that the people, there was changes in skin and hair and a bunch of things over time. But if you're a human, you originated from the place called Africa. And so as we look at this phenomenon, and we look at the fact that people are asking or have asked for reparations, it's not unfair, wrong, or it's ludicrous to suggest that you wouldn't pay reparations. Well, some people would say, well, how much is reparations? If you give the ninjas $20,000 each, before a few months would be over, the ninjas wouldn't have hardly no money left. Well, I said, well, maybe you give them $200,000. Well, would that be enough to buy a house? Yeah, it might be. It might not be. But before you know it, some unscrupulous Europeans or other people would have got the house away from the ninjas. And the ones that didn't, they said, wouldn't smoke it up, weed it up, or drug it up, drink it up. Ninjas wouldn't have nothing anyway, so why would you even pay them money? Somebody said, well, you still should pay them something anyway. And other people say, well, actually, you can't pay for psychological damage, psychological and emotional abuse, brainwashing, propaganda. You can't pay for blowing up little children and giving little children, feeding them to the alligators. You can't pay for many hundreds and hundreds of Tulsas. I mean, I'm talking about places where they bomb black people, burn black people up, lynched them. Maybe 20 million of them may have died in the slave trade itself, on the way here even. So the question of reparations will be dealt with. So that's going to be tomorrow. A lot of people will go there, and they'll come back with no reparations money. They'll come back with being satisfied, but they went there. That's a good thing. Then, of course, there's the Palestinians for Peace, which will be going on at the same time in D.C. Seems to me that over 200,000 people or at least 250 organizations of Palestinian people will be in that same place in D.C. demanding peace in Palestine or peace for Gaza or stop the genocide. And this will be an interesting day tomorrow. So those of you who are going there, good luck. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing to do because people have to demonstrate their dislike or displeasure about things that happen in the world. And I think that's why that's a good march. Also in the news, Lawrence Ham, a member of a member of the group called POP, People's Organization for Progress, is running for U.S. Senate from the state of New Jersey against a man who is committed. Well, he's been charged with committing some very serious criminal acts, and he's done it before and been let go before. But now it looks like he's on his way out. This fellow named Menendez. So Lawrence Ham is running for Senate. He's the People's Organization for Progress leader. He's a young African-American. Well, he's older now. He's 70. But as a young man, when he was 17 years old, he was an advocate for the people, the students, after the rebellion in Newark. And he was appointed the youngest board member in the history of Newark, of any school system in the country at the time. That's the big thing. Elections November 7th. If folks didn't know what was happening, they ought to know what's happening because November 7th will be here before you know it. Now, in addition to that, there are lots of things going on in the world besides what's happening in Gaza. There's a crisis in the Congo. And Congo is a place where, during the time of colonialism, this man named King Leopold of Belgium caused 10 million Africans to be killed, chopping up their hands and feet and so on if they didn't pick the rubber plantation, the rubber fast enough and so on and so forth. There's a crisis in the South Sudan where people are fighting and hundreds and thousands of people are being killed. And Senegal, and in Cameroon, in Burkina Faso, in Niger, all over Africa, bunches of things, and in the so-called Middle East. But the place where we focus in on at the moment is this place called Gaza. What is happening in this place called Gaza? There are people who are taking sides and saying whether they agree or disagree, or whether or not Gaza is a place that you should protect it, whether you support the people in Gaza or you should not support them. I don't know which side anybody is on, but I believe in this notion that truth is light, and people need to look at the truth, and then they can figure out where to go from there if they look at the truth. And there's been a lot of things going on dealing with that issue of truth.
Right now,
there's, for instance, I'm going to play a few, let's say, vignettes that talk about what's going on in the Gaza place and what should be done about it.
I'm Amy Goodman. Israel's intensifying.
Now, I want to start off with a news show where they talk about what's going on in Gaza, but it first highlights what you call a demonstration by Jewish people in New York City at the Grand Central Station. I don't know if you folks have heard of this happening, but there's a huge number of people who have a Jewish religion and other went to New York City Grand Central Station somewhere, I don't know, around October the 16th or so, or somewhere around there. And they turned the place out because they were angry that these other Zionist Jews were tearing up this place called Gaza. Now, for each one of these vignettes, I want you to, well, first of all, listen to this closely. It's 18 minutes long. That gives you time to get a pen or pencil and write down a few pertinent statements by the people. And I always say, don't believe your lying ears. Don't believe your lying ears. You know how people used to say, don't believe your lying eyes? Meaning, if you see something and it actually happened, but you decide that you didn't see what you saw, you say, don't believe your lying eyes. Well, for instance, Wilbur, the pimp, or let's say Wilbur, the ladies' man, he's running around. He got a wife or a side chick, or he got a baby mama or somebody, and she sees him walking down the street, Lucinda. And he says, no, that wasn't me. Like that song, sure wasn't me. You didn't see my hat on nobody's bed or whatever. People say, no, I don't believe your lying eyes. No, you didn't really see that. And they try to convince you. You didn't really see that. You thought you saw it, but you didn't see it. What I believe, so then I think about this thing where don't believe your lying ears. You will hear something, you know you heard it, and you almost have to say, wait a minute, what did I hear? And you say, repeat what you said. And now the person may or may not repeat it, what they said, but you know you heard it, and even if they don't repeat it no more, you know you heard it. Once you hear it, it's in your ears, it's in your head and your brain, you can't take it back. So I want you to listen to this and other vignettes and beware and understand this fact, that these are facts that are being stated here. These are not opinions, these are facts that are being stated. And this is a news program where these people, many of them, almost all of them white, are raising hell. I mean, they're really raising Cain in New York City. They did this, and I don't know why it wasn't on the news.
Ground invasion of Gaza.
Here it is.
Palestinian officials say the death toll has topped 8,300, including over 3,400 children. On Friday, Israeli ground troops backed by tanks and armored bulldozers entered Gaza amidst a communication blackout that cut off contact, electricity, and cellular service between Gaza and the rest of the world. Communications have now been partially restored. On Friday, the UN General Assembly overwhelmingly voted in support of a humanitarian truce, but Israel and the United States voted against the resolution. Massive demonstrations calling for a ceasefire in Gaza continued this weekend, including here in New York City. On Friday night, thousands of members of Jewish Voice for Peace New York City and their allies shut down the main terminal of Grand Central Station during rush hour. It's the largest sit-in protest the city has seen in over 2 decades. Many wore shirts that said, "Not in our name." Banners were unfurled reading, "Palestinians should be free," and Israelis demand ceasefire now. One sign read, "Never again for anyone." The multiracial, intergenerational movement says about 400 people were arrested, including rabbis, famous actors, and elected officials. Democracy Now! Is there. Today we bring you some of the voices at Grand Central, including Rosalind Kaczewski, professor of political science at Hunter College.
I'm here with maybe 1,000 others, a lot of us Jews, but we are here to protest the genocide that is happening in our name. It has to stop. We are crying every minute. When we listen to your show, we are crying. I have a dear friend, Mohammed, with his little family in Gaza. He almost got blown up today. We can't let this go on. Justice and the right to live for everyone. But Palestinians have been the victims of oppression for 75 years, and it has to stop. That's why we're here, to say not in our name. I am older than the state of Israel.
There's Jewish prayers in the back
Auerbach. I'm a pediatrician, licensed physician in the state of New York. I'm here to say that many Jewish pediatricians are calling for stopping the killing of children and their families, calling for a ceasefire now and not in our name. I've never been prouder to be a pediatrician when back on Friday, October 13th, thoroughly mainstream organization, the New York State chapter, the American Academy of Pediatrics, said that we stand with the children of Israel and the children of Gaza. We love all children, all families equally, and calling for an immediate ceasefire. So that was back on October 13th. Unfortunately, children and their families continue to be killed. The sorts of collective actions, collective responsibility is illegal. The sorts of mass killings of civilian areas, mass bombings of civilian areas are illegal and immoral. The United States should be leading to call for a ceasefire now. I've never been prouder of the 18 Congress persons who have called for a ceasefire now, and I'm calling on President Biden and Senator Schumer and my assembly person Nadler. Please, please, these are not Jewish values. It is not a Jewish value to be dropping bombs on children, killing children and their families. I am State Senator Jabari Brisport, the 25th State Senate District in Brooklyn, and I'm here calling for a ceasefire in order to allow for the release of hostages and humanitarian aid. I carry the Not on Our Dime legislation with Assemblyman Mamdani, which will stop New York from allowing for fake charities that claim to be charities to help Israeli citizens, but actually fund displacement and destruction and settler violence in Palestinian territory.
Are you planning to get arrested today?
I got arrested a week ago, and I'm going to let others step up today. I got arrested a week ago at a sit-in outside Senator Gillibrand's office, asking her to start calling for a ceasefire.
My name is Zahran Mamdani. I'm an assembly member for parts of Astoria and Long Island City, and I'm here today to join thousands of Jewish New Yorkers, rabbis, and allies to say that the time is now for an immediate ceasefire.
Are you willing to get arrested?
I'm not going to be getting arrested today because I was arrested 2 weeks ago, and I was advised to not get arrested immediately after.
What were you arrested for?
I was arrested for civil disobedience, for disorderly conduct. I was arrested alongside Assembly Member Marcella Matenis in front of Senator Chuck Schumer's home, calling on him to support the demand for an immediate ceasefire.
What does it mean to you that on this Shabbos, this Jewish Sabbath, thousands of Jews are here at Grand Central saying ceasefire now?
It shows that what we have been told about the consent for this genocide is not true. So many of the Jewish New Yorkers here are struggling through heartbreak and mourning of October 7th, and they have made it very clear that do not use their heartbreak, their tragedy, as a justification for the genocide of Palestinians. In over 2.5 weeks, we've already seen more than 7,000 Palestinians be killed, close to 3,000 Palestinian children, one Palestinian child killed every 15 minutes. These New Yorkers and so many across the state are saying the time is now for a ceasefire, and if you're not calling for it, you're supporting a genocide.
Sandy Nurse, I'm a council member to the 37th District.
And you represent what area of the city?
Bushwick, Cypress Hills, Brownsville, East New York, City Line.
And why are you here today?
I'm here today to stand in solidarity with Jews, Muslims, allies, because we believe in a free Palestine. We believe in a Palestine without military occupation. We believe that we need to end this genocidal war, and we do not believe that our dollars, our tax dollars, should be used to bomb other children. We don't
need help standing up. My name is Joyce Rabbit. I think that it's really important that there's a ceasefire.
Ma'am, can you let go of your cane for a second?
I let go of my cane.
I'll be right back to you. I'll be right back.
There's a ceasefire, that people stop killing each other. We have to stop killing each other. We can't, we won't get rid of Hamas. We won't get rid of an idea. We might get rid of the organization. We might get rid of all of the people in Gaza. All of the Palestinians might be killed, but the idea won't die. Freedom won't die. Voices from the historic Jewish Voice for Peace protest on Friday that shut down Grand Central Station in New York City. Protesters were calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. About 400 people were arrested in what's believed to be the largest sit-in protest New York has seen in over 2 decades.
I would describe my younger self as accidentally a Zionist.
I'm Amy Goodman. Israel's intensifying its aerial bombardment.
Okay. Now, I got to note that the volume was too high.
Yes.
I hope it's been corrected. Let me know if it's been corrected. Has that
It still was too high, Mr. Williams.
Oh, it's still too high, so I need to lower it a little bit more. But okay, the point of it all is, let us understand, first of all, what this demonstration was about. Now, first of all, you might have questions, because a lot of this is new information that you're getting, and I'm sure 95% of people in America did not know that hundreds of thousands of people who were white had gone to New York Central Station and surrounding areas demanding that they cease fire, and they called it a genocide. Now, people seem to think they know about what happened in Palestine, and they want to pick sides, who was right, who was wrong. They want to go to the Bible and deal with this and deal with that. But I prefer to deal with reality, facts. I'm not saying religion is fiction. I'm saying, in essence, facts, things that we can see and touch. We can't see God. I know I can't see God, so that makes me somebody who can't see God. I never talked to God, so does that mean there's no God? Well, no, it doesn't mean that. Do I believe in any of the religions that came up out of the mystery system? Well, that's not even relevant, because the mystery system was a mystery system, and the original people of the planet had religion that all the religions that exist today took away from. So if you take any one of them, you're dealing with whatever was prevalent in Kemet, Nubia, Kush, and those places where the original people came from. So we're not talking about that part. We're just talking about the part, like, for instance, I was born in 1945. Okay, so I was born in 1945. We can prove that, essentially, with a birth certificate. And then there are things that happened since 1945 that I know happened. I know they happened for sure. I remember they killed this man named Martin Luther King. I remember that happening. And they killed this fellow named John Fitzgerald Kennedy. I remember that happening. And then there's a fellow named Malcolm X. I remember that happening. I remember lots of people being killed in Newark that I know when I was growing up. I know that people who actually were killed, and things happened in this country. So in order to understand what happened in this place called Palestine, you have to go back to the year 70 in the BC time. You go back to 70 in the BC time, well, that's a long time ago. Well, in that time, there were no European Jews there. Matter of fact, the people who call themselves Jew today, Ashkenazis, they came from like Russia and Poland and those places. The people who originally had that religion came from Africa. Later on, these other people took it over. So, okay, fine. They're with whatever they are. But how did they even get to this place called Palestine? Because they didn't live there before in 70 B.C., and if they lived there later on, it seemed that the Ottoman Turks were there, and this group was there, and the British were there, and the people were living side by side, Muslims and Jews and Christians and whoever else is atheists, whoever lived there. Okay, we're not talking about that part. We're talking about the fact that there was people living in that place called Palestine, and they were not those people that you see walking around that are European Jews. They did not live there and be in control of it. The land was controlled by the people who lived there all along, the major people that were living there. But sometime during World War II, even before World War II, in the 1890s, they started talking about find a home for the Jews. They said, where are we going to find this home at? Any place. So in the 1917s, there was a man named Balfour. He said a declaration. He said, why don't we find a home in that place called Palestine for the Jews? They said, well, where's the original house? Oh, the original house was somewhere in Africa. But we can't go to Uganda because we'll be looking out funny because we'll be all white people and a bunch of black people around them. So we don't want to live in no place where it's all Africans because that's where it originated. Let's find a place where there's people that look more like us. Okay, let's find a place like that. So they said Palestine. We'll try that. Okay, so for a long time, the people lived there, back and forth, side by side. And somewhere around, during the war, 1945 it ended. Around 1947, they said, we know what we're going to do. We're going to make this place Palestine the home for the Jews. They said, how are we going to do that? Get rid of the people that's living there. So in 1948, they ran 750,000 people living there, like you living in Newark, or you living in New York, or wherever you live at. Can you imagine them going into the South Ward of Newark and running everybody, go to the Central Ward, and run everybody in the Central Ward out of the Central Ward. You can't chase them to the East Ward because they won't let them in there. You can't chase them all the way up to the North Ward. They ain't going to hardly let them there. Or you can't, where are you going to chase them at? Chase them anywhere. Chase them over to the South Ward. Okay, some of them might go there. Chase them up to Montclair. Chase them anywhere. So you chase them out of where they are, and in comes a bunch of people living in the Central Ward. Can you imagine walking downtown Newark? Can you imagine walking all around by West Kinney? Can you imagine walking around Muhammad Ali Avenue and there'll be no black people there? Can you imagine just white people walking up and down what was called Belmont Avenue, what was called Muhammad Ali Avenue? Matter of fact, if you go outside today and look around by Bayview Avenue and look around by Chancellor Avenue, and you look and there'll be no black people there, none whatsoever. You'll say, what happened to them? Oh, they ran them all out and put some other people in there. And the people be walking up and down the street and they be white. They be acting like they belong there. They acting like they ain't scared of nothing. Be looking behind them or nothing, because that's where they live at. So that's kind of strange. Okay, so that happened. So they went from 1948. They had ran these people out. And then somewhere along the way, 1967, they decided they were going to run some more of them out. So they ran some more of them out. And went like that. It's been continued where from in the beginning, it was like 50-some% owned by the Zionists and 40-some% owned by the Muslims. Next thing you know, they're all the way down to 2 million some odd people behind a wall that's 50 feet high, surrounding the place completely like a prison. And they're all living in this prison. And who controls all the electricity and the Wi-Fi and the water and the gas and everything? The Jews do. They got these people in a prison. They can't even leave out of there unless they get permission to leave. You say, well, that's kind of hard to believe. Well, anyway, we'll deal with that. Anyway, what happened was that these people, because of the daily resentments and because of the vicious killing of people by the Jews, on and on and on, this is stuff that people will tell you about. Not that I'm telling, just paraphrasing it. In any event, whatever happened on October the 7th of this year, they cut everything off, and then they started bombarding the people of Hamas, the Jews or the Gaza people, bombed them because they said that they killed some Jews by bombing them. Okay, fair enough. They was mad about that. But what actually happened was, after this so-called bombing happened, the Jews just kept bombing them relentlessly, day and night, from October the 7th up to now. And they're still bombing them now. And after they have bombed them and bombed them and bombed them and bombed them, and not anybody bombing them back, they keep on bombing the people, and they're killing little children by the numbers of every 15 minutes. I think one child is killed every 15 minutes. They're killing these Gaza children, these Palestinians, at least one every 15 minutes. Well, that's horrible, isn't it? That particular thing shows, when they say that that happened, and they are telling you that these are Jews telling you this story in that clip there, and they're angry about it. They say they killed at least 3,000 children. That was at least 2 weeks ago. So they've killed more children than that since then. And, of course, they have the children who are writing their names on their arms because they know that when they get blown up, they tear their little bodies up, and so the arms are left. So when their parents come by looking, they'll see their arm and know that they died. So that's imaginary. No, it's not. It's happening. These are what the white people say happened. These are the Jews talking about this. They said this is genocide. It is not a war. It's a Holocaust. Now, these are white people saying this. Now, y'all believe white people now. These hundreds of thousands of white people all around the country are demanding they stop the war. But they said this is not a war. A war is when two people are fighting back and forth and back and forth. But it's not a war if you have whole Central Ward blocked off by a wall. All of the Central Ward blocked off by a wall. And you can't even go downtown unless you get permission from Popo, the police, 5-0. They got to give you permission to go downtown Newark. And you say, well, I need to go downtown to go shopping. Well, I need to go to Maplewood. No, you can't go to no Maplewood. I want to go to Montclair. You can't go to Montclair. I want to go to Union. You're not going to the Union. I'm going to go to Hillside. You ain't going to Hillside. Well, wait a minute. Why can't I go to Hillside? Because if you go there, we're going to kill you. So the little children, they throwing rocks at these policemen, these army soldiers. And they said, oh, they throwing rocks at us. We don't like them throwing rocks at us. So they said they gave them the right to go and break the hand of any child that throws a rock at these Popo people. That sounds pretty mean. And then she said, well, that can't be really going on. Mr. Williams, you made that up. No, them Jews are the one that said that. The European Jews that live in New York and live all over the world saying this is like a jail. They said it's like a jail, a prison, and Israel is the warden. Israel is the warden, and you imagine you living in the Central Ward, and you can't get out of the Central Ward because there's a wall surrounding it. And whenever they get ready, they bomb the Central Ward, knocking down the buildings. Actually, they do this kind of bombing. Every now and then they bomb the Gaza people. They can't get out. So they bomb them, and they call it mowing the lawn. You know what mowing the lawn is? And they call them animals that aren't fit to live. And so when you feel some people are animals and not fit to live, you can treat them any way you want. Now, that's that particular thing. I wondered if anybody wanted to respond to any of that. Some of that sounds like made up stuff. You think maybe the Palestinians made it up, but they didn't. These are white people saying that this all happened. Is there anybody else? Anybody wants to make a comment?
This is Ariel. Thank you, Mr. Williams. I was just letting you know that tomorrow there's going to be a march in Washington, D.C. too, for Palestine as well.
Yeah, I mentioned that. The answer people, I mentioned them. Yeah. They're going to be, I said it was a dual march. And I should have mentioned also that Pop, said we want to endorse both marches. That's what he said. Mr. Ham said that.
Yeah, there's going to be supposedly about 30,000 people down there.
So. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so you said about 30,000 altogether. Probably be more than that because many thousands of Palestinians will be Palestinian sympathizers will be there. And they're going to be all races and creeds. They're going to be people from all over the planet coming to that march. And they're not just marching for reparations for black people, which black people are marching for, but they're marching for justice for Palestine. It just happened to be on the same day. But I think all of it is about systemic racism. Okay, anyone else?
Well, I just want to say very interesting topic, you know. And I will be in Washington on tomorrow, God willing, to see exactly what's going on for myself, how it all pans out.
Okay. Okay, here's another little thing.
Myself in our kitchen.
This is in England.
Of the Jewish National Fund, into which we put coins to help the pioneers building the Jewish presence in Palestine. I first went to Israel in 1961, and I've been there since, more times than I can count. I have family in Israel, and I have friends in Israel. One of them fought in the wars of 1956, 1967, and 1973, and was wounded in two of them. The tie-clip which I'm wearing is made from a campaign decoration awarded to him, which he presented to me. I've known most of the prime ministers of Israel, starting with the founding prime minister, David Ben-Gurion. Golda Meir was my friend. So was Yigal Allon, the deputy prime minister, who was a general who won the Negev for Israel in the 1948 War of Independence. My parents came to Britain as refugees from Poland. Most of their families were subsequently murdered by the Nazis in the Holocaust. My grandmother was ill in bed when the Nazis came to her hometown of Stachov. A German soldier shot her dead in her bed. Madam Deputy Speaker, my grandmother did not die to provide cover for Israeli soldiers murdering Palestinian grandmothers in Gaza. The present Israeli government ruthlessly and cynically exploit the continuing guilt among Gentiles over the slaughter of Jews in the Holocaust as justification for their murder of Palestinians. The implication is that Jewish lives are precious, but the lives of Palestinians do not count. On Sky News a few days ago, the spokeswoman for the Israeli army, Major Leibovich, was asked about the Israeli killing of, at that time, 800 Palestinians. The total is now 1,000. She replied instantly, 500 of them were militants. That was the reply of a Nazi. I suppose that Jews fighting for their lives in the Warsaw Ghetto could have been dismissed as militants. The Israeli Foreign Minister, Tzipi Livni, asserts that her government will have no dealings with Hamas because they're terrorists. Tzipi Livni's father was Eitan Livni, Chief Operations Officer of the terrorist Irgun Tzvai Leumi, who organized the blowing up of the King David Hotel in Jerusalem, in which 91 victims were killed, including 4 Jews. Israel was born out of Jewish terrorism. Jewish terrorists hanged 2 British sergeants and booby-trapped their corpses. Irgun, together with the terrorist Stern Gang, massacred 254 Palestinians in 1948 in the village of Deir Yassin. Today, the present Israeli government indicate that they will be willing, in circumstances acceptable to them, to negotiate with the Palestinian President Abbas of Fatah. It's too late for that, Madam Deputy Speaker. They could have negotiated with Fatah's previous leader, Yasser Arafat, who was a friend of mine. Instead, they besieged him in a bunker in Ramallah, where I visited him. It's because of the failings of Fatah since Arafat's death that Hamas won the election, the Palestinian election in 2006. Hamas is a deeply nasty organization, but it was democratically elected, and it is the only game in town. the boycotting of Hamas, including by our own government, has been a culpable error from which dreadful consequences have followed. The great Israeli Foreign Minister Abba Eban, with whom I campaigned for peace on many platforms, said, "You make peace by talking to your enemies." However many Palestinians the Israelis murder in Gaza, they cannot solve this existential problem by military means. Whenever and however the fighting ends, there will still be 1.5 million Palestinians in Gaza and 2.5 million more Palestinians in the West Bank who are treated like dirt by the Israelis, with hundreds of roadblocks and with the ghastly denizens of the illegal Jewish settlements harassing them as well. The time will come, not so long from now, when they will outnumber the Jewish population in Israel. It's time for our government to make clear to the Israeli government that its conduct and policies are unacceptable and to impose a total arms ban on Israel. It is time for peace, but real peace, not the solution by conquest, which is the Israelis' real goal, but which is impossible for them to achieve. They're not simply war criminals, they're fools.
That man was Edward Harding, who is a member of the House of Lords in England. He's speaking before the Parliament. He says that he comes from a Jewish background, parents, people who were Holocaust survivors. He was all for having a Jewish state in Palestine. He believed in what you call Zionism, a homeland for the Jews. He thought this was a wonderful thing as a young man growing up. As he grew older and as he met the different people who were the heads of Israel over time, and even the head of the Palestine Liberation Organization, Yasser Arafat, he says that what had happened was that these people were hell-bent on deciding to make a place for, he realized it later, make a place for themselves. And he said the Jewish state was born out of terrorism. Now, this is a man who's Jewish, European Jew. He's a man who hung out with the people who led the Jewish state from 1948 till now. He hung out with these people. He knew these people well. He had relatives who fought in the wars to keep the Palestinians on the reservation, so to speak. But now he's saying, looking at it, it's gone from just say, let's having a place for the Jewish people to live and all will live in peace. They decided they want to take all the land for themselves, started out by getting rid of 750,000 people, and then moving on into the area where they were living, the people were living previously. Now, he says, it's gone from Jewish terrorism, and it's now gone from terrorism to what you call genocide. And he says it's time for us to stop this madness. That's Edward Harding, a friend of the Jewish nation and of many Jewish leaders. Pro-Zionism. But he's saying that these people are fools and they are taking us down a very bad road. Anybody want to comment on Mr. Harding? Want to say he's made it up, he's mixed up, he don't know what he's talking about? I mean, I'm just giving you the other side. There's always another side of every argument and every debate. And so this is the other side you get. So far we had Mr. Harding, and we've had the demonstration in New York. Let's see, and let me see, what else do we have? Let's see, we have another one here. Hold on.
The sewage system, you're not allowed. By the way, for 30 years, the sewage system of Gaza has not been allowed to be corrected. The same pipes that were built 30 years ago, 40 years ago are still there. Can you imagine the problems that they have here? Why? Because Israel did not allow permits. What are people going to do? well, whether we get permits or not, we need to build houses. And so they build houses in Gaza. They build buildings in Gaza without permits. What's going to happen? Your son was found throwing a pebble at the tank. Israel's going to come in and say, oh, your son did this? Guess what? You don't have a permit for your house. Why do you not have a permit for your house? Because you weren't given one. You kept on applying, you kept on going, and they kept on delaying. So they will tear your entire apartment, your entire house down, and the UN comes, America comes, oh, I'm sorry, this is not, he just didn't have a permit. You see, they're playing games here. He didn't have a permit. They didn't have a permit to, now, Gaza, the electricity, the water, the internet, everything is controlled by Israel. The land outside, controlled by Israel. The ocean, controlled by Israel. So throughout the 60s and 70s, the oppression continues to rise, and even the most trivial of issues, you want to visit your family outside of Gaza, you need to get a permit. In the 70s, they built a fence wall, so that if you wanted to go outside, you needed to show a permit. The people of Gaza do not have passports. You don't have passports because you can't get Israeli citizenship because it's not Israeli land in the first place. Not that the Palestinians don't even want Israeli citizenship. So the people of Gaza are stateless. They're powerless. They have no lives. They have no potential for jobs. Their education is not even second, it's third class. So Israel continued to increase the laws against the people of Gaza until finally, again being very quick here, in 1987, the first Intifada comes. What is the Intifada? The Intifada was a mass protest. Began in Gaza and also the West Bank. Both Gaza and the West Bank are occupied, but the West Bank has a slightly better livelihood than Gaza for reasons that are self-evident. The location, the strategy, the people. The Intifada begins in Gaza and the West Bank. Tens of thousands of Palestinians march in protest. And the Israelis respond with the one weapon they know best, sheer brutality. To imprison, to kill, to shoot people that are throwing pebbles. The Israeli tactic is very simple. They will respond to any violence with at least 10 times more violence. That is their response. It has been the case for the last 40 years. In the 70s and 80s, they began instituting brutal policies. If your family member was caught being involved in political agitation, throwing a rock or stone, the entire family would be penalized. This is the law in Israel. In the 90s, actually late 80s, 90s, the Israeli Supreme Court allowed, listen to this, the breaking of the bones of children who throw rocks at the Israeli security. It is legal, it was legal for Israeli IDF soldiers, for police, to literally find a child that is throwing a stone, that is, doing whatever it can do to fight oppression, and literally, right then and there, break his hand in two with a rock. I wish I could show you footage, but it is gruesome. But it is on YouTube. It is on YouTube. Israeli soldiers breaking the bones of children. This was sanctioned and considered legal. I want you to understand, now you tell your interlocutor, what will it take to allow Palestinians to defend their rights? You want Israel to defend its rights? What will it take for the Palestinians to defend their rights? To live, to be free, to be treated with dignity. Obviously, when you're going to treat an entire population in this manner, what is going to happen? Their levels of anger are going to rise. It's human nature. And their attacks are also going to rise. In response to this, Israel decided to lock in Gaza effectively as an open-air prison. And so, in the early 2000s, they spent billions of dollars. Much of it is coming from our taxpayers. They spent billions of dollars building a 50-foot cement wall. You have to see it to believe it. It is as tall as this wall over here. I've seen it multiple times. You go there and you see this. Literally an entire massive cement wall with barbed wire at the top. Behind that wall is a slum. 2 million people. No jobs. Barely able to educate because they're not allowed. No careers. They're not allowed to learn, earn, live a dignified life. Their movement is controlled 100%. If you need to leave, you need permission. You will not be granted permission except with a long list of conditions. And even then, the whims of the guards, whatever they want to.
The Bible, when interpreted properly, is a source of wisdom and inspiration.
So now this man, what he was saying, or sort of what I was saying earlier, I don't know, and nobody seemed to have a comment. Maybe all y'all knew this already. Maybe it's nothing new. It seems like in this society, most people in this society don't know anything about what's going on here. Anyway, there's a lot of different things that are going on. I was just wondering if anybody wanted to respond. Before that, though, I wanted to talk about the song "Lift Me Up" by Rihanna that I played earlier. You see, I first played the instrumental version of it. This was at 8 o'clock. And as soon as that went off, I played the Latino, Spanish version of Lift Me Up. And then finally I played the words by Rihanna from the song, from the movie, Wakanda, Back to Wakanda, Lift Me Up in English. What I wanted to do for those 10 minutes was create an atmosphere of lifting one up from a feeling of emotional distress, psychological distress, spiritual distress, to a point where you have peace, where you have harmony, where you have a feeling of well-being. So that's what that song is about. That's a song that comes from the spirit of the African man and woman that was enslaved in America. The spirit of the spiritual. I'm not saying it's a spiritual song, but it's a spiritual kind of moving song. And to me, it moves me as a person, okay, as a human being, because it conjures up all the stories of the oppressive things that have gone on this planet. There's been slavery on this planet before. There's been oppression on this planet before. There's been people built and destroyed and humiliated on this planet before. And it's up to people to study these things so they can understand these things. Because if you understand these things, then you're able to handle these things. And since in this country today, and I'm not worried, I deal with everything. This is my perspective here. This is the show I run. I believe in something called Afrocentricity. Now, the reason I believe in Afrocentricity is because all of my life I've been exposed to something called Eurocentricity. I studied about European supremacy. I studied about how Africans were inferior people. I studied about how white people were the superior people. I heard Dr. James one time the other day speaking to somebody about the Pythagorean theory and the different theories and Archimedes and how these different Greeks and others were given credit for things that they learned about in Africa, some of them in the mystery system of Africa, which is a college which took you for 40 years to get an education in there. And they would burn the libraries and things down after they had learned all these things, but most people don't understand. I don't know. Me, I was raised up in the Central Ward of Newark, on Muhammad Ali Avenue in the projects, like a concentration camp. And the people who all lived in there were like in a concentration camp, only they didn't have a big giant wall around it. They might as well have had a wall around it. But that's where they lived at. They knew that's where they were supposed to live. Then they built these giant 13-story buildings in the Hayes homes. They built some more projects all around Newark. After the war of 45, the Second World War, and they built so many brick buildings where they concentrated these people in them that they called Newark Brick City. Now, I don't know, growing up, I thought Brick City was a cool term. Brick City. I'm from Brick City. But I didn't realize I came from a big old concentration camp where they didn't have a 50-foot wall all around it, and actually they had something called these lending covenants for people where they would not allow black people to get loans for houses or would give them a hard way to get houses. They built highways and stuff through the city so the white people can get out there to the suburbs. And they lived in those places, and black people lived basically in these hoods. So growing up in that hood, basically all I saw was black people. And when I went to school, I saw black students. And mostly I saw white teachers. And they taught us stuff. And they taught us stuff that wasn't true. They made up stuff. And I read a book by one white guy. He wrote a book, Mr. Lewin, I think his name was. It said, "Lies my teacher told me." Well, I'm telling you, people, y'all may not have had this kind of education, but I did. I know my teachers told me a lot of lies about what happened in the world. They kept the truth away. They made the Greeks and the Romans and everybody else great and wonderful people, and the Africans were inferior and no-name people, people of no consequence. And I remember I studied up on them Europeans really good. I really studied. I'm not going to tell you the Thomas Jones story right now, but I studied it up real good. I got so good at studying up on it. I memorized all the presidents. I remembered the Constitution. I was so proud of that Constitution and how many rights that were given to it and how the people were made, given a democracy, the land of the free and the home of the brave. And even right now, the one song I can sing better than any other song is My Country 'Tis of Thee. I'll never forget that song. It was my favorite song growing up, My Country 'Tis of Thee. I'd love to stand up and put my hand on the heart. I didn't do no kneeling, but hand on the heart. Love America, land of the free and home of the brave. And then one day I started reading, as I continued to read and study, like Thomas Jones said, reference and cross-reference, I started finding out that, wait a minute, these things these Europeans have been telling us about blonde eyes and blonde hair and blue eyes. If you have blonde hair and blue eyes, you were beautiful. If you had those thick lips, if you had woolly hair, then you were ugly. If you had dark skin, you were ugly. I remember they had a song out once just to say, black face, shiny eyes, ninja, never die. They call us ninjas all the time. They talked about how ugly black women were and how their body shapes were, not appealing, that you had to look like a Caucasian woman with the flat rear end and the blonde hair and the pale skin. Pale skin was supposed to be the skin of the best complexion. So what a weird thing to tell people that your skin color and your hair type and your lips and all that and your nose, you got a flat nose. And I mean, people, when they have babies, they look at the black people, look at the baby, look at behind the ears. They tell whether it's going to be dark forever or light ever, what color it's going to be. I mean, if you like, you're all right. If you're brown, stick around. If you're black, get back. I hear black people, when I was growing up, they would say, oh, he good looking. He's light-skinned and got good hair. And, wow, I thought light-skinned and good hair meant beauty, handsomeness. They built everything up to be white, to be virile and good and wonderful and nice. Everything that was black was not. And whenever black people were educated and they spoke well, they would say, well, you sound like a white person. You're talking white. Or, for instance, they would say, I remember my wife used to talk that kind of language, but she only learned it in school and with her mother and father. They would say to her, have you taken diction lessons? Have you taken diction lessons? Okay. And I learned as time went on, there was a thing called systemic racism where no matter if you went to court, no matter if you were stopped by the police, no matter if you went to the hospital, no matter whether you were having a baby, whatever may be happening in this society, systemic racism caused black people to suffer. And matter of fact, the chances of a black woman compared, it's 3 times more likely to die during pregnancy, even now. Even now, 3 times more likely than white women. Why is that? If you go to court, they say they've done a study that when you're on trial, the darker you are, the more likely you are to get convicted. I mean, they built up all these stories about black people and how fierce and dangerous and this and that they were. And I began to learn this stuff and say, wait a minute, no matter what you do in this society, you drive in a car, they come get you, driving while black. If you're in your house minding your business, and they come to your door, and if they don't like how you, whether you open or didn't open it, they'll shoot through the door and kill you. If they see a little black kid doing anything, they see him running, they chase him. Oh, we think he had a gun. I mean, no matter what, you've seen the story. You can talk about George Floyd, you can talk about Breonna Taylor, you can talk about any number of things you want to. There is systemic racism in this society, and that's the thing that guides me and how I try to project what I do on this show. And in essence, then, I have to deal with things from an Afrocentric perspective because I learned from Dr. Molefi Asante. In 1980, he wrote about Afrocentricity. He said, we've got to, black people, have to begin the thinking from an African-centric perspective before we can deal with anybody else on the earth. You have to be able to have a confidence in yourself, a pride in yourself, and a love for yourself, and awareness of self, pride in what you look like, pride of your selfhood, of your children, of the ability of your children to learn, to think, to achieve, and to be the best they can be. The sad part about it is we have been so devastated by the propaganda and the racism, psychological damage of the slave era, or coming all the way up to the modern era, to the point where right now many of us, we discipline our children by getting a ironing cord or a strap or a belt or something, anything, to beat the children like a slave. And that mentality has followed us all the way up to now. So that's why I try to, move things along on an Afrocentric perspective. And it means, of course, studying the true history of the planet Earth. And that's why in 1968 I was fortunate enough to become an educator in the Newark Public Schools. Little did I know that when I became an educator in the whole city of Newark from 1890 to 1968, there was never more than 3 black people who were teaching history in the whole city ever. I just happened to be I'd be the 4th one ever. And, would that make me, what they say, black people say, why, I was the first Negro on my block. Why, I was the first Negro to achieve that feat. Why, I was the first Negro on my job. That's called the only Negro syndrome. Black people, they let it have it. I was the first Negro. I was the smartest Negro. I was the only Negro who ever did that. Jackie Robinson was the first Negro to be in Major League Baseball. What do you mean? Black people were the best baseball players ever in the world, and they had their own league. They wouldn't even let them play with the white people. Had they played with the white people, that white people wouldn't have been in the league. Mickey Mantle wouldn't have never hit home runs. Now, Roger Maris, Babe Ruth, none of them would have been stars because the black players would have taken over completely. So when you say Jackie Robinson was the first, whenever you say someone was the first one, it means that they denied opportunities for all the ones before them. And if they denied the opportunity before them, think of all the geniuses and the adventurers and the other people who did not get a chance to do X, Y, or Z, men and women. Okay? So the only Negro syndrome still besets us. You still got those that say, we were the only Negro family in the neighborhood. Why, we were the only Negroes in the school. I was the only Negro in my graduating class, said Al Adams in 1955. In 1955, only 1 Negro graduated from Weequahic High School. 1. Now, Al Adams didn't say that, I'm the only Negro, because he's a black, he's Afrocentric, he's a chocolate man. He played basketball for the Warriors and NBA. But he was the only black person in the entire class to graduate in 1955. I was talking to the great John Henry, not John Henry Clark, but Leonard Jeffries the other day. For an hour and a half, we're talking about things. He went to Barringer High School. Yeah, well, you know, there was hardly any black people in Barringer. And he talked about, he said in 55, there was about 5 black people who went to the whole school, he said, and about 3 of them was his relatives. I mean, many times people don't understand that the only Negro syndrome merely means that they denied all the people before you and then decided, for some whatever reason, we'll pick us one of those Negroes and see whether we'll let him be in this job or not. And, of course, a lot of times they have to test the Negro out. Find out if he's a good Negro. If he's a Negro that will say yes, boss, and no boss, will he follow your orders? Or will he try to side with the Negroes like him? Well, you got to watch out. You know, he might be a problem for you. So you just can't bring any old Negro in there. So you bring one in there and you test him out. You see how he does. So many times, like you have a man in South Carolina. His name is Uncle Tom, or whatever. I mean, Tim Scott is his name. I like to call him Uncle Tim after Uncle Tom, but Uncle Tom is a different story. He said, there's no racial problem in America. He says, I want to be the president of the United States, and I don't see racism. I was raised by a single mom, and I know you can make it. Anybody can make it. Then there's Uncle Clarence, or Mr. Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas, the man on the Supreme Court. The man has helped to do so much damage to black people. And he was not the first black person, he was the second black person on the Supreme Court. The first black man was Thurgood Marshall, a great black man who loved his people, had pride in his people, and he made us proud of him. But that Clarence Thomas, we can't be proud of that man. We should be ashamed of him. Then they put this Barack Obama in there. He was the first Negro to be president. Hallelujah. Okay, of course you must understand. He was not going to be president unless they told him what he's going to do and what he's not going to do. If he decided he was going to do what they didn't want him to do, well, they would, first of all, they had a Congress that could knock down anything he signed up. They can't even make the laws. All they could do is sign a law. He could make a proclamation, but they can declare it unconstitutional. So you have a Supreme Court and the Congress that can tell Barack Obama where he come or where he could go. As a matter of fact, this man, Biden, was his vice president. And there was a fellow named McConnell who was the head of the Senate. And he told Barack Obama, I will not talk to you, Barack Obama. This is what he said to him. I'm not talking to you. You ain't nobody. I'm going to make you a one-term president. So you can go there, sit in the chair, but you're just a figurehead. If you want anything done, you send Biden to talk to us. We'll talk to Biden. We won't talk to you. So you just sit in the chair and wave your hands and be smiling and all and act like, talk good so the Negroes could like you, but you ain't going to get a second term in office. And whether you do or don't, we're never going to talk to you. We're never going to work with you. We're never going to pass no laws that you ask to pass. We're never going to even bring in a person from the Supreme Court that you want to pick. So just shut up and be a smiling, hand-waving, Miss America kind of Negro. So Barack had to go in there and be a good Negro. And he had lots of death threats. Okay, so being the first and only black person in the job don't mean a whole lot. And that's why I'm saying you have to see things from an Afrocentric perspective if you're an African person. And then you could look at the world in a different way and deal with the world in a different way. And so that's part of that issue. I'm saying I'll go back when I was a kid. Now, when I was a kid at 11, I studied the Constitution of the United States. I knew more about it than my teachers did in the 7th grade, the 8th grade, and 9th grade. I knew more about it than the people in the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And then I never had one class in black studies in my whole life. But I knew the American Constitution backward and forward. I was so proud of myself. I knew about my country and the amendments. And I found out, though, that the 13th Amendment didn't even free the slaves. And I also found out that New Jersey was the last state to end slavery, and they got y'all doing Juneteenth dances. Juneteenth, slavery ended on June the 19th, 1865. Well, how come they still had slavery in New Jersey in 1866? Well, okay, so and then I studied the American presidents. Now, y'all might not think this is big time, but when I was a little kid, when I was 11, I had learned every president. President number 1, George Washington. And I named all the presidents. People would say, oh, how smart you are. And I say, I can know the presidents. I know their wives' names. And I know who their vice president was. I knew what state they came from. I knew when they were born. And I knew them backwards and forwards. And I knew the vice presidents backwards and forwards. Boy, I was smart. And when I was 11, my favorite song was Love Me Tender by Elvis Presley. I loved Elvis Presley so much. I bought me some blue suede shoes. Now, you might not know what that means, but he had a song out that said, don't you step on my blue suede shoes. Love me tender, love me too, and all that. I just loved that white Elvis Presley. I didn't know that he stole all his music from a black man. It wasn't until, I Can't Stop Loving You, Ray Charles and the people, and the Temptations. As I moved up in age, I began to see more and more that these people were guilty of what you call cultural appropriation. Now, I might feel like I'm skipping around, but the point is I'm trying to make a point that everything in the life of a young black man and woman was predicated on what white people put out there for them to know. They suppressed stuff they didn't want them to know, and they accentuated things they did want them to know. And one of the main things they wanted you to learn was that Columbus discovered America. Now, what a wonderful thing. America wasn't even America. It was it was a place, a land where people were living at. And by the way, I think I said to you that the original people of this place that you call America were chocolate, like me. And maybe none of y'all see me, but Boris see me. He knows I'm chocolate. Now, the people were living there. And then the people from Asia, they had become looking like the so-called people of the red man. They came living in there, and they lived there, and so on. But they say Columbus came and discovered all this, despite the fact that Africans have been traveling back and forth. You know how y'all go downtown, uptown? Y'all go on 180? Y'all be traveling on 278, whatever that highway is. Y'all be going up and down Broad Street. Y'all be going all around Milburn or different places. Well, can you imagine suddenly some people come from Kearney and they say, we discovered Newark. What? You discovered Newark? What do you mean you discovered Newark? We've been living here all this time. You all discovered it. Yeah, we discovered it. And they start killing the people who live here. Now, you all didn't live here then. I didn't live here either. But the people that was living here mostly were the so-called red man. They brought all the diseases from Europe. They brought guns. They shot them and killed them. They did all kinds of horrible things to them. They burned their villages down. And then they brought Africans here, other Africans. In other words, there were Africans already here. So some of the Africans that was already here merged up with the people who were called Indians. So there was already Africans here. Try to understand this point. When Columbus and some of the white people traveled around different places like South America, and they saw the people, they said the natives came out to meet us. And they said the natives were so black that the sun blinded our eyes when it shone on them. They called them black and blue black. So they was already here, but they brought more of them over here. That's kind of mixed up. You need to do your research and you'll find out that's true. So, so studying up as a kid and learning all these wonderful things about Columbus and all that, and learning all the music and understanding, thinking that they created all the best music in the history of the world. Recently, I came in contact with a woman named Dara, D-A-R-A, S-T-A-R-R, Star Tucker. Dara Star Tucker. Now, you may not have heard of Dara Star Tucker, but she's an African-American woman. And she was born in a place called Tulsa, Oklahoma. You say, oh, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Oh, yeah, they burnt that place and killed the people. We heard about Tulsa. Yeah, but they did that for lots of black places. You know how bad they did Tulsa? Think about this now. You know how bad they did Tulsa. They did at least 150 or 200 black places worse than that. You said, wait a minute. Wait a minute. They couldn't have done no place worse than Tulsa. Because we just found out about Tulsa, and we know that's the worst thing that ever happened in the history of black people. No, it isn't. Do your homework. Anyway, Dara Star Tucker. She's on there. She's saying, I want to talk about cultural appropriation. And we said, what is that? Cultural appropriation. That's when you steal somebody else's culture and take it as your own. Almost everything in American culture they took from us and called it their own, including the music and the dances and everything else. So she's talking about a group called the Gap Band. She says GAP Band. Do y'all know them? Well, if you young, like some of our people are on the show, I don't want to name them, some of the young people on the show, who may have never heard of some of these things like cultural appropriation and music and all. Maybe you never heard of the Gap Band. I don't know. Maybe some of y'all heard of the Gap Band before. Well, Dara Star Tucker, I saw her on YouTube, and I said, whoa, who's she talking about, the Gap Band? She said, well, the Gap Band, let me tell you, they were from Tulsa. That got my attention. I said, oh, they were? She said, yeah, and they always gave homage to their hometown, Tulsa, when they sang. And I'm thinking, well, how did they do that? She says, well, Gap. Did you know that Greenwood was the name drag in Tulsa? That stands for the G in the Gap Band. Archer Street, that stood for the place, I think, where the doctors were on Archer Street. And P stands for Payne Street, where I guess the churches and the whatever the lawyers were. Gap Band. And she says, and I want you to know that we in Tulsa, and growing up, some of us knew all about this, and the Gap Band used to always bring it up and bring it out. And she said, now I want to talk to you all about cultural appropriation. I said, whoa, this lady sounds interesting. She's about in her 40s. Very bright lady. So I did my research, because I'm a researcher. I found her. She went from Tulsa. I finally found her in Tennessee somewhere, or Kentucky, one of them places. Tennessee, I think it was. I called her office up. This is about 2 months ago. I said, I'd have to have that lady come to be on the podcast. So I left a message on the phone. I told them, some of y'all know me, and, you know, I don't know if I told them about Thomas Jones, but I did tell them about this Black History class I had, Africana Studies class. I talked for about 20 minutes, nonstop. And in 2 hours, a man called me and said, Sir, Professor Williams, I said, oh, I'm sorry I got back to you so late. I said, well, I just called you 2 hours ago. Oh, we're so sorry. We'll be glad to come and be on your podcast. You will? Yes, we know about Newark. As a matter of fact, we're going to be in New York on September, whatever it was, and then we're going to be in 17 October, we're going to be in D.C. But we'll be glad to come on your podcast, Mr. We'll be honored to come on. And Dara will definitely do it. So I said, oh, wonderful. So I said, okay, she'll come and talk to you. So we finally rounded it out, and she's going to come on the 17th day of November. Now, y'all better not miss Dara Star Tucker, because Dara Star Tucker told me something that Dr. Molefi Asante didn't tell me. Dara Star, people say, she's only going to be here a half hour. So you can get her for the first half hour from 8 to 8:30, or you can get to her from 8:30 to 9 o'clock. Whatever you do, when 30 minutes come, at 30, after, whatever it is, 30, she's leaving. So, do you want to take this or you don't? I said, I want to take that. Because I think I need to be in that show with some of the stuff that Dara be talking about. Y'all going to be, it's mind-blowing. She can sing. It's real good, too. Dara Star Tucker. She's a credit to us, our black women, a young black women particularly. Remember that name, Dara Star Tucker. Just Google her. Listen to her blues and her jazz music, but also listen to her consciousness stuff where she talks about cultural appropriation. Do not miss Dara Star Tucker, 17 November, 8 o'clock, Combating Systemic Racism for Education. She knows how to talk that stuff real good. The black women particularly, bring your young girls, your young women, your nieces, your daughters, your grandmas, your aunties. Let them listen to Dara Star Tucker talk. I'm so proud every time I hear her talk. For free. I'll just go on YouTube and tune in. Dara Star Tucker. She'll be talking some good stuff. But she's coming on this podcast. I'm thankful for that. So that's all about the whole idea of Afrocentricity. Were I, a kid still growing up, I wouldn't have the consciousness to even know that Dara Star Tucker represented the awesomeness of the black woman. Okay, you may say I'm prejudiced and biased. Well, I'm not. I just feel that the most awesome female walking on the planet is a black woman. I think that. Why? I think that, well, you say, oh, you're prejudiced, you're anti-white. No, I'm pro-black. I love my black people. I had a black mother. Y'all probably didn't know that. But I had a black woman, a chocolate woman, who raised 4 children in the projects by herself. And my mother named Lizzie Williams. She drank the liquor, but she worked hard for her children. She cleaned the toilets in the schools at Archi and Ballinger and Westside and Southside. When I was a student there, she was cleaning the toilets, but she was paying the bills to keep us in the brick city. She raised us up by herself. My mother used to tell us, I'm the mother and the father. And as a young boy, I didn't understand she could be the mother and the father, but she said she was. And I started to think about it, whether there was no father there, because Daddy Sanford wasn't there. Well, my father's name was Sanford, too. He's a nice man, but he just couldn't live with Lizzie. She couldn't live with him or whatever. Whatever happened, they left when I was a little boy, and she raised us. And my mother was so proud of her people. She was always talking pride in black. She was always talking about being conscious of how black women should be treated. One of my mother's most famous things she used to tell me when I was a little boy, she would talk to me like I was her daughter raising me up. She would say to me, a ninja man ain't S-H-I-T. A nigga man ain't, and she repeated. And I kept thinking as a little boy, I don't want to be one of them people. I did not want to be one of them. No, she said, a ninja man ain't nothing. And I'm thinking, boy, my mother would not be proud of me if I became one of them people. So I didn't want to become one of them. Didn't say I wanted to be a trans. Didn't say I wanted to be gay. I didn't say I wanted to be a faggot. I didn't want to be none of those words and things that they call themselves. I know that they call themselves those names. I didn't make those names up. Lesbian, gay, transgender, plus a Q, plus something, whatever it is. I didn't want to be one of them. But I wanted to be a black man, but I didn't want to be one that wasn't worth nothing. You put, the word. I don't want to use that term. Mother taught me not to use it. She cussed a lot, but she didn't want me to do that. And then I had a black wife for 55 years. Come on now. That black wife kept me living and being who I am for 55 years. Now, you say, well, maybe a white woman could have done the same. No, she couldn't. But mentally, I would be thinking about the slave master and how those, almost half of the slaves that was owned in America was owned by white women. And they did some horrible things to black men. And then the white men who owned the black women, they did some horrible things to the black women. They even committed sodomy on the black men in front of all the other so-called slaves. And they would do what you call buck breaking. They had a black man that seemed like he was a little uppity. They would tie him down and forcibly make him have anal sex with make a person do that to him. Okay. So I didn't want to be one of those people. So, of course, I had to strive to be the best black man I could be. And that black woman that I had, who I met when she was 16, she wasn't a woman. I was 18, she was 16. You go, oh, you robbed the cradle. You're guilty of what you call child molestation. Nah, she was 16. I was 18. Okay. Then we dated, and we had what you call before you get married. Engaged for 2 years. And then we got married. She was 19, I was 21. Okay. That 19-year-old black woman raised me up and 4 kids. She said, how the heck they raised you and 4 kids? Well, I was not barely a man when I met her. And through those years, I knew her for 57 years and 55 being married. That black woman helped me keep my consciousness. If I was going to be unconscious or not black conscious, she would have kept me being conscious. So I credit who I married and who mothered me for my Afrocentricity. I know a lot of black people, they have a black wife and they have a black mama and all that stuff, a black grandma, and they all turn out, some of them turn out to be, warped-minded Negroes who don't care about and don't like their own black self. Okay, so I'm proud to have been raised up by 2 black women. God is good, and I have the pleasure of that. And that made me the kind of man I am today at 78 years old. And I know for a fact that I could never be the best anything I could have been without those black women that helped make me who I am. And the God you believe in, I don't know what God you believe in. I believe in the God that is fair and good and just, and who helps, and I don't say how it happens, but there's preordination. Things are supposed to happen a certain way. I was supposed to be talking to Molefi Asante and Dr. McIntosh on the 30th of April of this year, of May this year. I was supposed to. And I was supposed to find Forrest Nance around June of 2023. I was supposed to go on that show on July 8th. I was supposed to do that. That's why I'm here now. And all this comes about because of what I call the concept of Afrocentricity. And fortunately, this wonderful man, Molefi Asante, came on our show 2 weeks ago. And he's the author of Afrocentricity. He said he'll come back in the springtime to talk because, as you know, I went on and on. I could go on and on tonight because I'm the guest tonight. But I went on and on. Dr. Asante said, I'm only going to be here till 9 o'clock. You're going to talk till 9:30. Something. I'm ready to go. I'm busy. I'll talk to you all some other time. Okay, that's all good. So that's the gist of the whole concept of understanding race and racism and understanding or combating systemic racism. And what the Jews are doing, the European Jews, what they're doing in Palestine is like if they came to Newark and put a 50-foot wall around all of Newark. And I don't know how much y'all like to go out of Newark. I know y'all like to be going out of Newark. But if they put a 50-foot wall there and said, y'all ain't coming out of Newark, and you can come out sometime if we let you, but I got to go to my 6th grade month. You can't go. I got to go down to Georgia. You can't go. Why? You don't have a visa. I don't have a visa? No. A visa means you got to go with a passport and you go travel. But you got to stay all within Newark. You cannot leave Newark and go to Maplewood. You can't go to Montclair. You can't go to Livingston Mall. You say, wait a minute, now you're making this up. Go study it. Like Thomas Jones told me. Check it out. Do the research. Reference it and cross-reference it. Find out whether they got a wall like that over Gaza. And all them 2.2 million people not allowed to leave without permission. That sounds like a prison.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sounds like a prison. Yes, sir.
Sergeant James. Listen, how you doing? My question real quickly, as far as Palestine and Israel is concerned, what do you think that the black people should do about it?
Well, before we do that, let me do this.
Women and children does Israel have to slaughter? How many war crimes does Israel have to commit? How much death and destruction does Israel have to visit on the people of Gaza and Palestine before you will call for and impose sanctions on Israel and expel the Israeli ambassador from this country and call for the immediate referral of Israel to the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity and war crimes? Because in front of the world, by their own admission, Israel is committing war crimes. They have stated it publicly. This isn't a matter of opinion. They declared their intention to force, through the threat of military bombardment, more than 1 million, and it is now well more than 1 million, Palestinians from their homes in northern Gaza and ethnically cleanse them. A crime against humanity. They stated publicly and have done it in front of the eyes of the world, the intention to deny to 2.2 million people water, electricity, medicine, life-saving equipment in front of the eyes of the world, and they're doing it. And every minute, children are being slaughtered by their artillery, their relentless bombardment of residential complexes, of hospitals, of schools, of civilian infrastructure. They just go on and on and on, and you do nothing. Nothing. Words of concern, but no action to hold them to account. And it is clearly premeditated war crimes and genocide. Genocide. We have Jewish people in the United States and Canada, around the world, and Israel calling it genocide. Scholars, academics saying this is genocidal. Let me quote you a few things. Israeli general, quote, human animals must be treated as such. There will be no electricity and no water. There will only be destruction. Yoav Gallant, a minister, says we are fighting human animals. We will, quote, act accordingly. We will remove, quote, every restriction on the IDF. Smotrich, another minister, there is no such thing as the Palestinians. The president of Israel refers to the people of Gaza and says they are all responsible. Before October the 7th, Netanyahu appeared in front of the UN General Assembly with a map of Israel that had removed all references to Palestine. A clear declaration of intent to destroy the Palestinian people and steal all of their land. 6,000 Palestinians killed between 2008 and before October the 7th. Thousands of Palestinians hostage in administrative detention without trial. When are you going to move beyond words of concern and impose sanctions and expel the Israeli ambassador of this apartheid murderous state? The Israelis?
Well, now, what should the black people do? Well, I think people, as human beings, need to be overwhelmed by what they're hearing. Because this is genocide. It is like a Holocaust. It is so absolutely absurd. You wall the people around the whole Newark. You can't go to Maplewood. You can't even, well, okay. Fine. You can't do none of them things. Fine. But then you start killing them. Now think about it. Here you are. They're bombing Newark day after day after day from outside Kearney or wherever they're at. It's bombing and bombing and bombing and bombing. And people are running and falling and dying, and children are falling and running and dying. And that's a terrible thing. But did you know that in the Congo, the white people, the French, the Americans, have created so much of a friction there right now that maybe about 42 women just got raped the last hour. Normal, 40 or 50 women get raped every hour. Are they mad about that? Well, y'all don't even know about it. What you need to do is study up on all the things that the British colonialists and the American colonialists in 1887 at the Berlin Conference, when they divided Africa up, the Europeans divided up the place so badly, and they took people, one tribal group against other tribal group, and took the part that they were going to make the ones that's the only Negroes, put them in charge of the other ones. And they collect them and push them to commit all kinds of genocidal things against their own people. So right now today, there's tens of millions of little black children dying all over Africa. I don't feel happy to know what they're doing to the people of Gaza. They're doing some terrible stuff to them. So your own conscience should tell you how anybody should react to that. Listen to these white people. Y'all heard them white people talking. They're angry. They're red-faced. They're yelling. They're in Parliament. They're in Scotland. They're in Ireland. They're in England. They're in Australia. All over the country. They're all over the world. They're saying these people need to be put in hand. And these are Jews saying this now. So what's it the Arabs do? Well, wait a minute. Don't you got some people in Saudi Arabia? Don't you have some people in Libya? some people in northern Africa? Don't you have some Moroccans running around? What are they doing about it? What about the Moroccans? What are they doing? What are the Libyans? What are the Tunisians doing? What are the people of Syria doing? What are the people of Lebanon doing? What are the Egyptians doing? Egypt nowadays it looks more like white people than and more like Arabs than they do the black chocolate people who made Egypt great. But what are they doing? There are millions of Arabs all over the continent, all over the world. What are they doing? So it's not a question of what should black people do. It's what should any human being do. Do whatever is done in D.C. tomorrow. Join up with them people who are asking for Palestine freedom, justice, and equality, while at the same time asking for reparations for the black man and woman who, for more than 400 years, was oppressed by and was misused by the labor, but through labor and other, by white people. Did you know in 1865, Dr. James, 85% of America's wealth came from the black man and woman's free labor? 85%. Now, think about it. If it don't be for the African man and woman working to build this country, and they built it in lots more ways than just working for free, there won't be no America. So the question becomes not what should black people do, what should any person of goodwill do or feel about this? Even the Jews who love the Jews, even the Jews who love the Zionists, even the Jews who say, never again, when they talk about their fight with Hitler. Remember the Jewish fight with Hitler, the white Jews fighting with Hitler? Well, Hitler killed over 1 million black Jews. You know that, huh? They killed at least 3, 4, 5 million black people in Africa. Hitler did. He didn't just kill some other white people who called themselves Jews. They killed up over 8 million Russians in World War II. Okay, so what should black people do? Black people, like anybody else, any human, because it's a human thing, should be opposed to it. So what do you do when you're opposed? Many people march. They demonstrate peacefully. Other people get guns and start fighting. So it seems to me that the only way you can resolve this, since the Jews, the Israelis, have the fourth most powerful army on the earth. On the earth, I say. It's a small little place. They got more weapons than Carter got liver pills. So they are powerful people with lots and lots of guns, and they are wild and crazy with the guns. And they're wild and crazy with the bombs. And they just they hover over Gaza and they drop bombs on them people, doing nothing. The people aren't fighting them. People ain't got them weapons. People don't have that kind of weapons. So, therefore, anybody of goodwill should be outraged. But now you should turn your attention to the Sudan. Turn your attention to Cameroon, Ivory Republic. Go turn your attention to Libya, Liberia. Turn your attention to Angola. Turn your attention to the Congo Republic. And look at all the activities that are going on right now. Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. Okay, so I'm not saying that we should only care about what atrocities that go on in Africa. You should care, because the greater atrocities have occurred against Africans than any other humans walking on the earth. So nobody can sit on the market on a Holocaust. Because the Holocaust of the Africans could go on. I could talk about it for the next 10 hours and not get tired and not stop. Because I could go on and on telling you about that. Just because these people are being done in, and they shouldn't be done in, I think the World Court, I think the UN, I think the UN humanitarian group, all those people should have been doing something long before this. Number one, they should never have taken those white Jews, those European Jews, and put them in that land and said, this is your land that God gave you. God didn't give them Europeans no land. It did not give them that land. They weren't living there. The people that was living there were living there. But they,
Mr. Williams,
they put the people there. Go on.
Mr. Williams, we know that's the case.
Do we?
Yeah, we know that it was the black Jewish person. But I'm saying that was in the past. We can't change that now. We got to look at the present and the future. Now, how can we change the future?
Well, the best way you should do it is move them European Jews out of there. Send them somewhere else to live. Either go somewhere else to live.
We can't move them out. They got too much money.
Oh,
now,
wait a minute.
I'm going to tell you this.
That ain't right then. That's not right. You can't just say
it ain't right, but the world ain't right. The world ain't right. Let me just say this.
World then, okay?
This is the I think this is my personal opinion. I think it's the beginning of the oil wars. Because if you look at it, we attacked Iraq and they had a lot of oil, and quietly we moved our people into their oil fields, and we're probably taking their oil right now. Then we killed Gaddafi, and we're taking their oil in Libya. Now, the one that have the most oil is Saudi Arabia. Now, we didn't attack Saudi Arabia, but we built the United States built an army base right in the middle of Saudi Arabia. So we telling them, if they get out of hand, we're going to take over their oil too. And the only one big country other than Russia left with a lot of oil is Iran. And we're looking for a reason to attack Iran so we can take their oil. To see, as the oil dwindles down, we're going to have to fight for it. I think that's what all this is all about, control of that oil. Now, I might be wrong, but I don't know if we can do much about it, you know, as regular people. I might be wrong.
Well, you're not wrong about the oil part. One of the biggest problems, though, I think you brought up, that's a good point to make, is that a lot of these people over these countries, whether they're in Africa or in the Middle East, so-called, they're in bed with, they're in league with, they're buddies with, they're tools of the people who are doing their own people in, you see. So, therefore, whether it's about oil or not about oil, it's about people who are keeping their own people oppressed by not helping their own people to ward off and fight off this systemic racism. Okay, so it's not a question of what should we do and the past is the past. You got to build on the past and go toward the future. Once you know your history, you won't repeat it, or history repeats itself, so you'll know how to deal with it when it comes back upon you. And don't you understand, when you know that if you have an illness, doctor, and you know that such and such a thing is a symptom of the illness, and then you know how to arrest the illness, like they had a pandemic, well, you know, and people may have had things like polio or things like flu. Every year they get these shots, flu shots and this kind of shot and that. You know how to arrest the problem with medical, with lifestyle, or holistic. Now, once you see the illness coming back again, you'll know how to deal with it, because you'll say, I've seen this illness before as a doctor. As a doctor, you know, I've seen this before. I know just what to do. Correct, doctor? That's history. So you can't just say, well, he had that problem in the past. Well, what do we do from here? Well, you find some way to arrest the problem. That's what I'm saying.
You're correct, but I put myself on mute.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all I was trying to say. That's good. So that's where we are so far. I would like to tell you that I have about 13 more of these to show, which I can't do because the time has moved fast. All I would ask you to do yourself a favor, and this is what I believe in. When I taught at Week Lake High School teaching Africana Studies, I told the students, you do the research for yourself. I might say this to you. Don't believe it because I said it. Don't believe it because Farrakhan come. By the way, that Farrakhan man is coming too, you know. I know you know he's coming on this podcast. You know that, don't you? Well, I didn't tell y'all, but he's coming. Anyway, because Farrakhan came in there and said it, all he came to do was tell you about your black pride and your black
We're going to have Farrakhan on, you know?
No, we're working on it now. Brad Campbell coming. I know he's coming because he came twice in the 70s at Weequahic, so you know he's going to come now. Anyway, when he comes, it'll be some months from now. Because we're going to have
a huge crowd. You're going to get everybody to listen to that.
Okay, well, but he ain't the only one. Anyway, don't forget about Darius Tucker on the 17th. Either way.
And Dr. Jeffries.
Okay, Dr. Jeffries. Dr. Jeffries will be on the 19th of January. His birthday, he'll be 87. And his nephew, Hakeem. I know y'all heard of Hakeem.
He's a Congressional Black Caucus. He's the chairman of the Democratic Congress.
Yeah, well, he told me he wanted to make sure Hakeem will be at the show. We'll talk about him because Hakeem know him good. And other people, lots of different people are going to pay tribute to Dr. Leonard Jeffries. But we have to wait until the 17th, 19th of January. That's his birthday, and 87th birthday. We need to give a tribute to that. But just because Dr. Dr. Ben came and said it, don't mean it's true. Just because Gil Noble said it, it don't mean it's true. Just because Maya Angelou said it, it don't mean it's true. Just because Shirley Chisholm and Barbara Jordan said it, it didn't mean it was true. I said, do your homework. Just because this man, Kunstler, came in there and said he hates the white legal system, don't believe it because he said it. Study up on it. After you study up on it, then you'll be better able to handle what is or isn't true or not true and decide, make decisions for yourself. It's like telling a young lady how not to get pregnant. Say, well, you don't get pregnant, child, if you don't have sex. Okay, Mama, I won't have it at all. Oh, well, there's a lot of ways to get pregnant, and there's a lot of ways not to get pregnant. There's a lot of ways not to get STD and not to get one. There's a lot of ways to become addicted to heroin and cocaine and crack and fentanyl. There's a lot of ways. You can start by smoking weed. Say, oh, no, weed is good for you. Anybody knows that smoking causes lung cancer. Because the weed don't cause it, but don't weed have smoke in it? Well, anything that can cause lung cancer, and by smoking it, you should be watching out for it. Now, I'm not telling you all not to smoke no weed. It's not your business to smoke weed or not to smoke weed. And your business to drink liquor or don't drink it. Well, alcohol can lead to a lot of things. They tell you when you have problems in health, doctor, don't be drinking liquor this week, or don't drink liquor with this, or cut down on the liquor. Drink a little bit of it, not a lot of it. Now, I'm not here to tell you all not to drink liquor. Y'all can drink all the liquor you want. But then you can also drink it in moderation. Now, am I saying I'm holier than thou because I don't drink no liquor? No, I ain't holier than nobody because I don't drink no liquor. Some of the worst white beaters don't drink no liquor at all. Some of the worst wife beaters and worst husband beaters, some of the worst women walking on the earth don't drink no liquor. They don't smoke no weed. They don't do none of them things. So smoking or not smoking don't make you good or bad. So all I'm saying is study up on the things that are important in the world, and you'll make a better life for you and for me and everybody. So I can't play all those other tapes about what the people are talking about. They got a lot of mad white people in this world. They are angry, and they're red-faced. They are angry. They're saying these people are animals. They're killing off these people like like it's going out south. By the way, y'all, the Jews are still killing Palestinians right now. It's daytime now, I think. They're still killing them.
Don't forget the Palestinians did kill some Jews. They killed 1,400 Jews.
Well, you know what the Jews always say? The European Jews? They said, do harm one fingernail on a Jew, you must kill 10,000 in response. Because they say, never again, because Hitler and them had troubles. Now, in other words,
both sides are wrong. Both sides are wrong.
I'm going to do 10 times worse. So these people, think about it. If they did something to those people in October 7th, why don't you study up on what they did to them before October the 7th? Go all the way back to 1917 and come all the way up to now. And look at all the things they did to those people living there, and you say that they did that to them? If you look at all the stuff they did to them since then, you wouldn't even be saying that. You wouldn't say, well, they killed some Jews too. Come on now. the fact of the matter
They killed a lot of Jews, and they killed Jewish babies too. So both of them is wrong, man. Right?
No, what you need to do is you need to study up on it. I didn't say that they didn't do nothing. All I'm saying is you study what they did to these people, but then to and then you even it out. Say, should anybody kill any baby? Furthermore, the media that you listen to is racist, and they make up a lot of these stories. So if you just listen to them, then of course you'll be warned. Listen to the other side. That's what I gave you just now. Listen to some of these white people. I'm telling you, doctor, you would not challenge white men. Those white men are saying, no matter what the Aryans did, the things that they did to them far outweigh what they did to them to cause it. May I say this?
I understand that might be true.
No, cut it.
But I believe in God. See, if you believe in God, God don't want that to happen to nobody, right?
First of all, let me say this very clearly. Nobody wants anything to happen to anybody who's an innocent person of anything, period. But when you start doing things to people who haven't done nothing to nobody at all, you go on their land. It's like saying the Indians killed some white people and they scalped General Custer. You said that was wrong that they killed General Custer. No, it wasn't wrong, because General Custer made a habit of going around killing and destroying native people in this land. And you know what General Custer's one of his favorite things was? Indian women rape easy. Tell me about that. Indian women rape easy. So you mean to tell me that what I get out of Custer is that he was a bold, great hero. He killed up a bunch of Indians, and we used to love to see them killing them Indians. Okay? Because them Indians were savages, they said. Who was the real savages? Whose land was it? And look at all the stuff they did to them. See, if I had not studied up on all the things they did to the Indians, the Native Americans, if I had not studied up on it, I would not know. I would think, why, these Indians are vicious. They're savages. I remember they asked Malcolm X, Islam seems like the hate, or we want to know about Islam. And we want to know about the hate that produced the hate. And Malcolm said, we don't hate them. All we're doing is we're angry about what they've done to us. Is it bad for us to be mad for what you did to us? Is it bad for us to retaliate against y'all after y'all done all this to us? No, it's not bad for them to fight back and to say, we are tired of this. What I asked you to do is study up on what caused that Gaza thing to happen on October the 7th, 2023. And once you find out what happened on October the 7th, 2023, the very place where they bombed, where they were sitting up there laughing and joking while they would be bombing the people of Palestine, they sitting up there with a ringside seat, looking down on like the Yankee Stadium, just watching them, just bombing them and killing those people. And so they decided, they pushed them so far, that they said, well, we're going to do something to mess them up. We're going to blow up that place where they took from us years ago, leveled the houses down, and went living on there. Now they up there having a good time partying and shaking their rear ends. So you got to study up on what led to that. You even got to study up on the place that they bombed. Then you got to study up on this, Dr. James. If you got blockaded, no, you don't live in Newark. So if you got blockaded in wherever you live at, and they didn't allow you to go, but you know about Newark, though. So if you imagine if you lived in Newark, and they blockaded you, and they did every kind of dirty thing they could. They took over the South Ward, and they just built houses there. They knocked down all the houses that were living there. And they sit up there watching while they be beating y'all up and chasing y'all up and down the street with horses and whatever it is. Okay? So don't go for the media saying, yeah, but they did this to some Jewish, to some European Jews. Yeah, they did this to that. You need to study up on number one. Look how bad it is in Israel. Don't be a black person in Israel. And don't call yourself a black Jew in Israel. They'll treat you like any old ninja in the hood. I'm telling you, no matter where you go on this earth, they treat black people like they're any old ninjas in the hood, and they don't give them rights and privileges. They slaughter their babies. They rape their women. They've done that, and they're still doing it. So when you look at it, yes, there was it's like a battle. Somebody hit you. Should you hit them back or let them keep knocking you? They asked Malcolm, what should you do? What do you think the black people should do? He said, well, if somebody lays their hand on you, send them to the cemetery. Oh, that's violent. Well, what do you think you're doing to us to make us want to send you to the cemetery? Okay, so they call it the hate that produced the hate. They talk about Islam. They talk about when Elijah Muhammad had the Nation of Islam, and they were teaching the black man to have pride and black self and all that. They said, y'all must hate white people. No, we're just turning around all the negatives y'all put on us, and that's what that's about. I'm not here to debate on did somebody do this side or the other. I would tell you, first of all, there's such a thing called media racism. Media racism and sensationalism. So they use the media to sensationalize the stuff that the Jews and the others who control it want them to say. Understand? White people control the media. And Jews are a part of the white people that control the media. White people are the ones that control rap music. And Snoop Dogg is coming too. They control rap music. And they control all the gangster lyrics and the murder music. They control that. White people, Jews, and so on. Now, not just Jews, but white people. I'm saying it's racism that controls rap music. Racism that controls the fentanyl coming in your neighborhood. It's racism that controls the guns coming in. And racism that controls the heroin and all the other things that are coming in, the cocaine and whatever, you see. And so because of that, you can't just say, if somehow along the way somebody responded to it, you say, oh, they did something bad. You say they killed babies? Well, didn't you know, Mr. James, every 15 minutes they're killing one Palestinian child, at least one. In the last, since I've been on the air, how many children have they killed? And, there's been a lot of 15 minutes since 8 o'clock. And every 15 minutes, they kill at least one Gaza child because they're sitting ducks, like being in Yankee Stadium, firing down on them while they can't get out. Just being like they're being in an arena, just tearing them to pieces. That's what I'm trying to say. No one condones that. And this is not a show for debate. I don't debate, I just give information. And because so few people have the information they need, you can only get it on my show. I'm going to give you the information. Let you decide for yourself. I'm not going to tell you lies. I'm not going to give you distortions. I'm going to let you hear the facts. Take them for what you want them for. Don't get off the subject. The subject is not, did something happen on October 7th, and that was terrible. No. The subject is, what has happened since 70 B.C., or rather AD, from 70 A.D. until now. If you study that, you say, I don't want to do all that. Well, then you don't want to know how to solve the problem. You don't even want to know what the problem is. So if you want to really know, instead of talking, study 70 A.D. until now. After you do that, I'm not saying you, Dr. James, I'm saying anybody. If you study what happened in Palestine from 70 A.D., a lot of years ago, up until 11/3/23 A.D., study it. Look at what's happened, the history of Palestine. Look at what the European Jews have done there. The white racists, this is white racism here. What they're doing to those people there is part of what I'm talking about, systemic racism. And so, because of this systemic racism, these people have responded to it. That's all we're saying. And so, as a result of that, I plead with you to do your homework, study up on this stuff, and you could have better discussions about things in the future. Tonight I was planning to really talk about the Reverend King and what we don't know about him, and the reason why they don't want him to be taught about in the schools of America, especially in the advanced placement courses. There's an educator in California, Dorsey High School. He's teaching a course called Afro-American History 2 Honors. And they told him he could teach it, but he can't teach systemic racism. So he was on all the stations, ABC, NBC, and Fox and all of them, telling everybody about how bad it was to try to teach black history where you can't talk about black history, where you want to teach black history, but you can't have King in there. Get rid of Dr. King. He's too militant. And this man, he's going to come here, too, on the air, man out in California. But the thing is, though, all I want this particular program to be about is bringing the news, the facts, not bringing the debate, not bringing the opinions, but bringing the facts. And I thought I'd brought you the facts. And I gave this one opinion, because that one opinion was I think the most awesome woman on the earth is a black woman. That's my opinion. So, okay, so I'm what? I should be loving white women. Okay. I should love the blonde, blue-eyed lady, like they told me to. I should go get me a brunette, because they said get a brunette. If I had a lot of money and played basketball or football, I'd have me a brunette by now. If I played basketball with the 76ers or the Boston Celtics and one of the people, I would have me a white woman by now, because I'd be wealthy if she'd come and get me if I didn't come get her. But I don't want a white woman. Is it okay for me not to want one? That's my personal opinion. Now, all of y'all that don't want a black woman, that's all right with me. That's your business. All I'm saying is there are things I do have opinions on, and that's things like black women and the pride in your black self. I think black people should be proud of themselves. I know there's some evil black people walking, and if you go to Africa, be careful, because there's some evil black people there who kill up their own people like it's going out of style. So you can't just say that all black people is wonderful and good. I'm just saying that to be loving who you are and pride in who you are, because white people created this thing called race. Before they created it, you just came and went as you were. They used to enslave a whole lot of white people and so on and so forth, but that was another time. The white people, though, they created this thing called race so that you could look at a person and tell whether it was good or bad. You could look at a person and tell whether it was beautiful or not beautiful. I mean, you could listen to a person sing and decide whether they could sing or not. Because if they was white, they could sing better. If they was white, they could act better. Look at who gets all the Academy Awards and on and on and on and on and on. See, those are all the things that are important. So those are the things that I want to impart here. Hopefully it will be a benefit. Next week will be a different week. And we have an interesting person coming on next week, which I won't talk about right now, but it should be a very interesting discussion. It'll be a female who's got consciousness about a lot of good things, and it'll be a good show next week. I won't be bringing all the news myself, or I didn't bring it on myself, because all I did was piggyback off of what white people have been saying about what happened in Gaza. I thought that, that's the best way to handle it, rather than give my suppositions and my opinions about it, because this is not about debate. It's not about education. And there was a movie out called Harriet. And before I end this program, I'd like to say Aluta Continua. I'd like to say power to the people. I would like to say I hope that the march is safe, that as they march around the president's place, the White House built by the black man, they marched around that place in D.C., which was designed and by a black man. We were going to bring Mr. Browder in, who has this whole thing about how Washington, D.C. was set up based on Egyptian premises. It was set up all around it. There's all these examples of things they copied from Africa, from the pyramids and things like that in Africa. Anthony Browder, Dr. Anthony Browder, will be here too before the year is over. In any event, I'm just going to say then that we pray for the people, the Palestinians. We pray for all people who are harmed unnecessarily by evil people on the planet. We are hoping that no child is left behind, no child is murdered, no child is abused, no human being is abused. Nobody's land is taken from them. Nobody is being oppressed. No black person was shot by the cops this day. Whenever, to me, I hate to say this, but to me, the most dangerous people I can think of seeing walking on the earth is a person in a police uniform. These people cause me trouble because they are silent assassins as far as I'm concerned. Not all of them, but as a group, they have put fear in the hearts of black men and women, because from the slave patrols till now, they have used these people to oppress us, to kill us, to abuse us and to keep us down. So the demand or request, because think of this, people, they're nicely requesting reparations. They're saying, why, you've done these things and these things to us. Now, if we talk about all the things that white people have done to us, therefore, if we went to court, may I say this, in a court of law, they would ask for reparations. They would ask for irreparable harm. Oh, okay? They would ask for money for a catastrophic event that was irreparable and that could not be repaired simply by saying, we're sorry we did this. They make you pay money, millions of dollars in court when you harm people. And they even put you in jail for harming people in this country. So that's why we have a court of law. But in the court of law in this country, it is not fairly set up. And you're more likely not to be given justice. You're more likely to get injustice in the courts of America. So we hope that people not being killed or beaten. They may get beaten up down there tomorrow. Or maybe they'll just let them march around until they get dark and they go home. And then they say, okay, we ain't giving them reparations anyway. I'm not saying it's a futile effort. You've got to make an effort. So I applaud the effort by the people wanting reparations and by the Palestinians supporters who are demanding justice for Palestine. They're demanding for a ceasefire. And may you understand this. If you have a ceasefire, it doesn't mean Hamas or the Gaza people should stop firing. How the devil are you going to fire and do anything to anybody when you have a 50-foot wall separating you, a wall all around Newark? And the people who are outside of Newark is shooting bombs over from New York City, and they're landing in the middle of Newark day after day after day. There ain't no ceasefire. No, the ceasefire means y'all who are the European Jews, stop throwing missiles on them people. Stop it altogether. Then work your way down to, let's try to work this thing out. All the dead people, let's bury them. All the dead children with their arms over here and their legs over there and their head over there, get their heads and their bodies together, let them bury the people in the janaza, okay? Let them get food. Let them have water. Let them have electricity. We said, what you mean? They don't, since October the 7th, they ain't had no water? They ain't had no food? Had electricity? Wait a minute. People have been trying to bring it to them, but the Israelis stop them. They've even killed people saying, you ain't taking nothing to them people. Let them starve. This since October the 7th. I bet y'all can't go 1 or 2 days with no food and no water. Y'all would say no food and no water? We ain't got no food and no water? Did you know they used to have a law in Palestine where they told the Palestinians they couldn't even get rainwater and capture it in a barrel so they could drink it? They would say it's illegal to capture water. Now you say that sounds kind of crazy to me. Well, I can't even tell you about all the terrible things they'd be doing to them people. Nevertheless, we hope for the best for that march tomorrow. We hope for good luck for Lawrence Ham on the 7th day of November. We hope for the best for the people of New Jersey, that they will get a senator who won't be taking bribes from criminals. And, well, they already got one senator that's a criminal. I won't name him, but New Jersey already got one that's he's not good for the people. I'm saying that. I have my reasons, but I don't want to get into it. But to try to get a senator in there that's going to do for the people, we don't know whether he will win or not win. Nevertheless, y'all need to study up on what's happening in Sudan, South Sudan, and Lesotho, in Burkina Faso, and throughout the and even in Indonesia, and Myanmar, and over there in India, and in China, and Japan. There's a lot, and in Vietnam. There's lots of stuff, and in China, a lot of bad stuff being done to people. And did you know they got a bunch of black people in China that were the original people? They got them locked in like they're animals, like in a concentration area. They keep them there, and you don't know they live there, and there's millions of them. So it's going on all over the world. So we pray for good to come, and whatever you believe about a creator, a God force, and so on, it didn't seem to me that a God would want evil to come to people. But then, it wouldn't seem. So that's my opinion of it. So whatever is happening in the world, it seems like it's sort of like has been set forth to be that until something happens to change it. And we don't know what that's going to be. So in any event, some of y'all know that during the slavery era, there were people who were runaways. They called them Maroons, and they would hide in the hills and do this and that and the other. Some would run away and go north. Some of them would fight for their freedom, like Nat Turner. But Harriet Tubman, there's a movie about her called Harriet, and the music is called Stand Up. As I leave out from this show on the 28th minute after 10 and 11:23, I'd like to say that tomorrow there's a show coming on at 2 o'clock with Sierra Williams. She'll be in D.C. Maybe she can do some interviews from D.C. and still do her show at 2 o'clock. Listen in. You'll be hearing live from at the White House with Sierra Williams at 2 o'clock. And then there's Shantae, Hardy. She has a show at 4 o'clock. And she'll be live from D.C. At the White House. So she probably can do some interviews at 4 o'clock. And then, of course, there's this young fellow who was in my Black Studies program, 2-year Black History class, Boris Nance, who has sponsored this Grown Folk Talking Network. He will be there, too. So, therefore, he has a show at 6 o'clock, but he'll have a guest. I'll be hosting the show. So if y'all don't want to hear me talking, there's a guest there. He knows what he's talking about. Listen to him. He's a good guy. He sounds like he's a smart man. And then Rahman, Rahman Amin, that brother will talk about food and health and so on. That'll be from 6 until 8:15. And I think Sister Nabiha will be on the show at 8:15, 8:30. But I would hope maybe anybody who would want to, I'm sorry for a moment, let me get back to, what am I getting back to? Oh, I'm getting to the, where's this, excuse me for a moment, please. I'm trying to get to the place where if there's any, this would not be here. Maybe we can tell you about her show tomorrow. This should not be here? Should not be here?
Yes.
Hold on.
I'm on mute, and oh gosh, let me see. No, I had to get my phone. Well, what happened to my phone? Okay. Pardon me.
Sister Nabia, I was wanting you to say something about your show tomorrow, please. Maybe your phone is, let's see if it's muted or not. The phone isn't muted, I don't think, huh? Okay, is there anybody else who has a show they want to mention?
I was trying to mute it. I thought I had it unmuted, and I was like, well, you know. Okay, are you there?
Yeah, I'm gonna go on mute. I'm gonna listen.
Yes, okay. Yes. Yeah, my show is Let Us Heal the World, and I'm on every Saturday and fourth Saturday. Okay, at 8:30. So Sister Sharon, she's going to be on tomorrow, and my show is not going to come on until November 11th. I have to think of the date. So, so if that's what you wanted me to announce.
Okay.
After the Forest's show.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Forrest here. You
yeah.
Make any, yeah. No? Okay. Anybody else who has a show? Anybody else?
Oh, yeah. Well, I did. I enjoyed it immensely. I really did. And you said a lot. I had a few statements to make, but I guess you were sharing so much, and then I kind of forgot some of it. But I know one thing I would like to say. I came through the first experience with Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and when he was stating that the Ku Klux Klan, the leader of them, they were saying to him, because he wrote that in the book, that they was going to drive Islam back into the ocean, and was speaking about our people, just stating some negative things. So Honorable Elijah Muhammad responded to him and say, well, why every time you go into our countries, you always rape our women? If our women were so ugly and we, had older, stinging people, this negative thing they say, why were you always entering our women and then produce babies or killing them or whatever? So that was one of the thing, and it was another statement I wanted to make, and I'm trying to remember now. I've kind of forgotten. I'm getting a little late. But nevertheless, everything was, very key, and you spoke about many, many things that have happened in our past. Oh, I think this is what it is, a point about when we can't do or correct certain things, and we're taught Islamically, not that we always can do it, but three ways of correcting something is first, with our tongue, we can say something about it and speak out, with our hands, if we can do something physically about it, and the third, which is the weakest one, is with our heart, holding in our heart, speaking. You're going to have feeling for it, and all this atrocity that's going on around the world. The Jews feel like they are the chosen people because of they take things. People take things. Whoever country or whatever people that had resided there, people come in and do what they want to do. The barbarians, all of that. These things have been known to be a history of how people have conquered other people. And it's just sad to see that this is a big thing now. I had a video that was sent to me by a Muslim sister, and she was almost in tears. She said, I want you to look at this and share it. All of these trucks lined up was waiting for the Jews or the Israelites to let these people in, these trucks in, to bring food and clothing. They've even camped on the ground. They had tents trying to come through to give food and clothing and necessities to the Palestinians. And the Jews, these people would not let them in. So regardless who try to help, their mind is set. God is going to have to deal with them. We can't do anything about it. We just have to try to do it, think of it and try to change, and pray, do as much prayer as we can for all the people that are doing good. And the ones that, I won't say that every Jew probably feel the same way, but we have to think and make decisions for ourselves, because we don't know what's going to happen to America. I mean, America has a big military force, but, there are things just happening, and, and I rest, thank you very much. The show was excellent.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it so much. Is there anyone else who has a show that would like to? Is there Nadia? You could stop on mute.
Yeah, I can do that.
Please.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Was there anybody else want to make a comment before we close the show out? Because I was merely giving information so that you could research it yourself and do what Mr. Thomas Jones used to tell me to do. He would tell me when I was 10 and 11, he would say, cross-reference it. At 10 years old, I didn't know what cross-referencing meant, so I asked him, what do you mean by cross-reference? He said, well, you go first and look for the information. Then you look for other aspects of the information, whoever else talked about it. Then maybe, you go further and then look further into what that person said. And then as a result, you compare all that you have looked at on it and come to your conclusion. At 10 years old, he's telling me this, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's all I'm just saying to you as grown people, as grown folk. If you were students in my classroom, I wouldn't just be up there doing all the talking. I felt that I wasn't qualified to do all the talking and know everything. So I created my classroom so that the students could be in charge of a lot of it. Imagine that. Students could be in charge of the class. The teacher don't have to be in charge. And so therefore, they then can, as they are in charge, develop the powers of reasoning, of researching, rationalizing, understanding, and qualifying things so that they could be able. For instance, as our sister was talking about the Klan, I remember in 1977 or so, we talked to the Imperial Wizard of the Klan, and my students ran the entire interview with him. Even though he was vicious and nasty and laughing and joking, they were telling him all about the origins of human beings in Africa and Nubia and this and that and the other. And they ran the whole thing. And so I believe in students and participating in their own education. And that's why I think the kind of education we put out there during Boris's days is the kind of education that they should have in public schools in our country. And in all schools, if they would have it. We have somebody, I'm sorry. Go on. Somebody's out there speaking. I'm waiting to hear.
Mic check, mic check, mic check.
It sounds like my young student. Well, he ain't young no more, but he's still Forrest Nance. Yes, sir.
I am young. What are you talking about? I'm 66. I feel 26. But anyway, peace and blessings.
Yeah, you're still young. You're still young. Go on,
That's
brother.
right. That's right. Only one as old as King David, if he's up here. But anyway, I'd just like to say that to the listening family that tomorrow I'm being blessed along with Sister Deborah, and thanks to Mr. Williams sponsoring some young people. We're going down to Washington, D.C., along with Sister yoga instructor Ariola, who came on last week, and we're all going down there. And Mr. Williams and listening family, I just brought 12 C-size batteries for the bullhorn. And I'm telling you, they said they're expecting a lot of people out there tomorrow. Well, I tell you what, that whole crowd that's going to be down there, because the buses are supposed to park at Malcolm X Park, and then we're supposed to be walking to the Capitol. I have my spiritual eye on with me, and we're going to walk to the park along all them other people, and on the way talking, and it's going to be videotaped. It'll be on our YouTube page. I'm going to be saying from the time we're down there from 11, because the event starts at 11, we'll be pulling out 6 hours later. I will be down there with my bullhorn with fresh batteries in it, saying, grown folks talk and express yourself. I'm going to have my business cards. I'm going to meet with some of the Palestinian brothers and sisters down there. I always told you guys I wanted to start a Palestinian show. From what I understand from Sister Lisa, who's giving the bus ride, helping to put this bus ride together, because we meet with the people from Brooklyn. That means that we have an opportunity. Me and Sister Deborah, Cece, the young lady who's a high school student, Shantae, who just started to show up here. And I'd like to thank Dr. James for sponsoring one of the people that got on the bus. And I want to say this, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but I reached out to certain people to make that are supposed to be hosts of their shows. And I asked them, I said, hey, can you make, now I'm not knocking anybody, I want you to understand where I'm coming from. And some people asked for $5 donations, and they couldn't make it. So, I mean, like I said, I know things are tight, family, but we always say up here, we have to support young people. And it's not a knock on anybody. And like I said, I'm not calling anybody out. But, you know, anytime I believe that you are at a certain age and you can't donate $5 and you're the first one to get up there and tell me, oh, we have to support young people. We want to do this for young people. Young people are our future, but I ain't got $5. I think that is, well, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. Like I said, I don't know anybody's economic constrictions on here, all right? But I put my money where my mouth is, because I paid for my ticket, paid for Sister Ariola's ticket, and Sister Deborah, she got on the strength of me. So I put my money where my mouth is, and I'd like to thank, like I said, Brother James, and he's a listener. He's not even a host. He sponsored somebody. And Mr. Williams, thank you so much, because Mr. Williams made it possible for the rest of the people to get on there. So our grown folk ought to have at least 8 people representing us down Washington, D.C. All right? And once again, I want you to understand something, family, in case somebody's listening, if the shoe fits. If we asked you to make a donation and you couldn't, I'm not trying to disrespect you. I didn't call no names. You know who you are. But what I'm saying is we all get up here and talk about how we got to support young people. Well, that's what we did. And Mr. Williams put his money where his mouth is, okay? So like I said, I'm on a fixed income, but I had to make this happen. We always talk about what's wrong. Well, we got to get up off our derrieres and support. I'm going out here and I'm going to be running my mouth. And y'all know I got a visual impairment. I'm going to be running my mouth. Can't halfway see the person, but I'm going to be talking to them because I got my spiritual eyes with me. I'm going down there with somebody, okay? So what I'm saying is if I can do it, you can do it. We all ought to get on that bus. Every grown folks talk. If you can, like I said, I don't know anybody's schedule, but for those of us who had a la-di-dee, la-di-dum day tomorrow, we should have been on that bus. We're pulling out from Newark City Hall tomorrow at 6 a.m. After I get off this phone, and I'd like to thank Mr. Williams once again. Powerful show, Mr. Williams. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm getting my butt up at 4 o'clock, take a shower, and get down there to the bus, and we're going to have a good time down there. And I'm telling you, you're going to see the video footage for yourself. I'm going to try to cover that whole. They said they're expecting 30,000, maybe plus people down there. I'm going to try to walk through every last one of them 30,000 people. Y'all know I talk about physical fitness. You know I go to the gym, I stay in shape, do my push-ups. Well, that's going to pay off because and I can get on the bus and snore on my way back home, okay? But I'm going to make it happen, not just for this channel, but to bring you guys what people are saying. And we're going to videotape it so you can hear firsthand. And I just want to conclude by saying this, Mr. Williams. I get long-winded like you, sir, but then again, you're my teacher. I'm saluting. You can't see me. But the only thing I want to say, family, look, I heard on WBAI today, and I know Dr. James listened to it, and so does Mr. Williams and most of us, Brother Leon and Sister Nabir. But I'm going to say this. I heard a man from Palestine said he lost his entire family. He lost his entire family. It's just him. He lost 16 members of his family, and I teared up when the brother was talking. It was on Democracy Now! Mr. Williams played a clip from Democracy Now! Do you know how, hopefully nobody will ever have to experience that. But for us to sit back and say, oh, that's over there, then all of a sudden you want to get revolutionary when it happens to your family, okay? And they want to know what creates terrorism? They want to know. This man lost his entire family. Now, we know it's not right to take any human life, especially an innocent life. But now you probably just turned that man into a terrorist. How you know he won't try to come over here and do something that could be horrific? But this is what caused, and Brother Williams spoke on it when Malcolm talked about the hate that hate produced when he had that interview with Bill Wallace. It's still continuing. It's still going on. And I would be remiss if I don't go down there and show support with the Uhuru 3 and the Mali. Y'all heard my show last Saturday for family. If you missed it, well, we'll have George, our YouTube man, send it to you. She got up here and told you, along with Brother Bakar and Brother Tyrone, they broke stuff down historically, all right, about what they're doing out here. All right, so we have to come together. And you know, my dear sister Nabir, I'm gonna send her video footage. All right, I'm gonna send Dr. James some footage because he sponsored one of the kids. But once again, when I spoke on that donation thing, it was on my heart. And the name of this network is called Grown Folks Talking, Express Yourself. Okay, so I'd just like to say thank you, Mr. Williams, for that tidbit. I almost gave a quarter of a podcast, little presentation up here. But I'd like to thank everybody, and I will. Oh, by the way, Mr. Williams is going to cover the show tomorrow night, and Brother Rashad will be in tomorrow with Brother Wale. All right? So I'll report in from down there as we're coming back on the bus, because we're supposed to be back at the bus at 5 o'clock. Y'all know my show starts at 6 tomorrow night. Shantae, Mr. Williams, I'd just like to remind before I get off. 2 o'clock, Sierra, she's a high school student. She started her show on Saturdays. She's going to be giving you a report about what she's seeing down there in Washington. A 17-year-old beautiful young lady turning 18. She's going to tell you what she sees from a young people's perspective. Clock show will go on with Sister Shantae, all right? And she's going to report. She's 27 years old. So grown folks puts his money where his mouth is. We have given 3 young people, because Aaron comes on Sunday at 1 o'clock. We have given 3 young people shows up here because they are the future. Thank you, Mr. Williams. I don't want to say any more, but thank you, family. And tune in tomorrow night because I'll be giving a report. Peace and blessings, family.
Thank you, Forrest. And so on Sunday at 1 o'clock, Brother Aaron will be on. And then at 3 o'clock, it's supposed to be Issa Well, now, Issa is retired, so that must mean I have to do that show at 3 o'clock on Sunday. I'm not sure what to call it, but anyway, at 5 o'clock, Brother Bay. Did we change something at 3 o'clock? I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll find out later. Okay, at 5 o'clock, Brother Bay and Coach C. And then at 7 o'clock, Positive Impact with Deborah, Miss Deborah Fitzgerald, who will be at the march. And she's going to have to march for us. She's going to have her sneakers on. And she's going to march with y'all. And I don't know if she's going to be tired or what. But if she's not tired, she can still do the show from her bed at 7 o'clock. Positive Impact. Due to different things that went on, she's very popular. The last 2 shows I've been sponsoring, I've been doing the music for it, not doing the prayers. Adrian did the prayers the first week. Then last week, Deborah came and did the prayer. But at 9 o'clock, it will be a health man, what's the brother's name, who's doing the health show? Brother
Abdul.
Brother Abdul, yeah, thank you. We'll be doing that at 9 on Sunday. And at 7 every day, Sister Carol Sister Carol will be doing the praise worship every 7 o'clock in the mornings. That's the grown folks. And none of this music that I played was for copyright infringement. No money was made. No one paid any money for my long dissertation or my presentment of this issue of reparations and freedom for Palestine and so on and so forth, systemic racism and what I saw it to be, and by using some different Democracy Now! And other things to illustrate the outrage of what's going on. So nobody paid a penny for it. I don't want to say I deserve to get paid for it. What I'm doing is because I love my people, and I want this nation to be a good place. It's never been a good place, but hopefully it could be a better place along the way. And so, all that being said, to end this show, pardon?
I'm sorry. I don't know if someone else is tuning in.
Sorry.
Ms. Williams, this is Nabiha. I just want to say this quickly. Yes, I wanted to say to you that I do the Gap Band. I remember them. My sons at that time, of course, they used to play their music. So if you can tonight, if not another time, you can play one of their songs, because I really did like a lot of their music as well. Okay, so I just wanted to share that.
Oh, what was happening is I'm set to end it up with Harriet. And normally I would do that. I would just go get the Gap Band music, but I don't know which one that would be the best fit for ending the show. So I need to end it with Harriet. But I will play the Gap Band. I'm sorry. Man, hold on. Let me make a point here. Okay, I want to make this point. On the 10th, we're going to have a pretty good show, too, with a good sister coming on to talk. And I will play the Gap Band. I will select out some music from the Gap Band to play, because on the 17th, the next week, we will have the one and only Dara Starr Tucker. I'm going to spell that for you. Darastarr Tucker. A real awesome, a powerful, dynamic African woman, African-American woman, an African person, a queen, a star, an outstanding person, a young black woman, awesome black woman, will be on the show on the 17th talking about cultural appropriation. And we will play some of her music next week, too. She does blues and a lot of really nice things, but she's powerful and awesome. I don't know, maybe I'm just so in love with black women. Maybe I'm, I just can't help it. Like that song, I can't help myself. You know, and that song that came out years ago, I can't help myself. I love you and nobody else will.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. Thank you for giving us that accolade. We love it. Thank you. Yeah,
okay.
You all our king, so we love you all too.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Okay, so we want to end this with Stand Up.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. Early in the morning, before the sun begins to shine, we're gonna start moving towards that separating line. I'm waiting for somebody water. You know I gotta make up mine. And I don't mind if I lose any blood on the way to salvation. And I fight with the strength that I got until I die. So I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on.
Peace and blessings to one and all. And we are prayerful for all the people on the planet. We don't want harm to come to people unnecessarily. We want good people to get good, and we want bad people to get what they deserve, not by me, but by the Creator, by the everlasting spiritual life of humankind. So stay safe, and until next week, Sanford Joseph Williams signing off.